Yeah, it waits 30 seconds for the stream to start on TalkShoe, but we've been live on Restream. We're now live on both Restream and TalkShoe. Chris Ransom, Joseph Potter here. William Yanish might join us in a little bit. I know my brother will join the Restream version of this show at noon. And as soon as somebody enters the chat room on Restream, then we'll talk about the new logo that we got yesterday. We got a lot of critical praise and acclaim. But we're going to start off with the Super Bowl because we got a rematch of 2 years ago. And I did a show with Orrin, Emmanuel Watson, and Sean Dante, Emmanuel's co-host, who's an Eagles fan, on Wednesday. I just figured, you know what? Since Emmanuel's recording a show Thursday at 8 before the show Orrin and I record at 9, let's just collaborate. It'll make things easier. And it worked out great for everyone. Orrin was able to go see his dad afterwards. And everybody was happy. All four parties were equally happy. So, yeah, and Orrin and Sean were singing "Fly Eagles Fly," but you'll get this version of the show will be the Chiefs version of the Super Bowl preview because my brother's a Chiefs fan. The Thursday edition we had an Eagles fan on. Today we're gonna have my brother on. So it's kind of ironic how that works out. But in all seriousness, Chiefs Eagles, this is going to be, I feel like this game could legitimately go either way. And, you know,
I've heard things being said about how they, and most of the people are saying the Eagles are going to do it, or people who played for the Eagles at one point in time. I mean, Dustin Cox is running around pretty safe in his old Eagles shirt. I mean, it's insane that nobody really believes outside of Philly that the Eagles are going to win this unless they have faith for the Eagles at some point in time.
Yeah, I was just loading the predictions page because it showed the 49ers on the stream, and I'm like, what? I updated this. I updated the code, so why is this showing? But now I refreshed the page. But yeah, the Chiefs, they're going to play Thuney at left tackle and Caliendo at left guard, but I think they'd be better off moving back Thuney to guard because I think the keys to winning this game, the Chiefs, the two big keys are limiting Saquon Barkley's carries and rushing yards and limiting Jalen Carter's quarterback pressures. There's 3 defensive tackles in NFL history with 20 quarterback pressures in the playoffs. Aaron Donald when the Rams won 56. Chris Jones when the Chiefs won Super Bowl 57, and Jalen Carter with the Eagles this year. So those are the 2 keys, like I told Orrin and Emmanuel on Wednesday, like I'm telling you now. I think the quarterback matchup's about. I would argue that Mahomes is the better overall, but Hurts has outplayed Mahomes in 57 and arguably has outplayed him in these playoffs. I would give the Eagles the running back advantage and the offense. You could argue receiver advantage. You could argue there's a multitude of positions you could give the Eagles the advantage at, but I'm going to give the Chiefs defensive line the advantage over the Eagles. Linebacker, I think you would lean towards the Eagles. Secondary Eagles, but despite the Eagles being the better team on paper, according to some, for some reason, my gut is telling me the Chiefs are going to win this, and Ron Torbert is calling this game. Ron Torbert, the last time Ron Torbert called a Chiefs playoff game, it was the AFC Championship against the Bengals that me and my brother watched in Vegas. That was the last time it happened. So I do not trust Ron Torbert with this game. Hopkins, Worthy, Marquez Brown. You've got McCole Hardman. You've got Juju. You've got Justin Watson, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, Carson Edwards. You got players on this Chiefs offense that could step up. And I think the Chiefs have a lot of depth, just like the Eagles do, at a lot of key positions. And that's why both these teams are the last two standing, Joey. That's why both these teams are the last two here.
I think it's going to come out. I think it's going to be a high firework. I actually did a parlay on this game. So Kelsey's going to get a touchdown. I did two parlays. One, and Kelsey's going to get a touchdown in the first quarter. Boom Hunt's going to get a touchdown sometime during the game. It's like, I had a feel this is going to be a high-scoring bumper. No disrespect to either defense.
I'm definitely taking the over. The over's 48.5. I'm definitely taking the over, but I don't think there will be as many points in this game as there was in the last Super Bowl, where the Chiefs won 38-35. I do think the Chiefs win by 3 again, but I think there will be more defense in this game, but it will still be high scoring. My score for this game was a very bizarro score. It was a 29-26 score. And I took the Chiefs 29-26, and I actually have the Eagles leading by 5 on the final possession, 26-21, but I have the Chiefs getting a touchdown and a 2-point conversion to go up by 3 and to win by a field goal, 29-26. And yes, it's possible for the Eagles to get 26 points. That would be 4 field goals and 2 touchdowns. Or, it'd be 4 field goals and 2 touchdowns, 2 extra points made. That would be 26 for the Eagles. So it is possible for the Eagles to get 26 and the Chiefs to get 29. If the Chiefs get 4 touchdowns, 3 extra points, 1 2-point conversion, that gets the Chiefs to 29. So it is possible. As ridiculous as that score sounds, 26-24, it is mathematically possible for it to happen. So, and that's the thing. I mean, you got Charles Omenihu, Mike Donna, Karlaftis, Josh Uche, Felix Anuzai-Uzoma, Tershawn Wharton, Chris Jones, Derek Nottie, Mike Pennell. Got bodies on both defensive lines, but I feel like the Chiefs, they have more depth on the defensive line, whereas the Eagles, you could argue, have more stars in the front 7, but Tranquil, Nick Bolton, Leo Chenal have all played well in their own rights. Trent McDuffie is the number 1 corner. I think whichever receiver between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith is not being covered by McDuffie, they're going to go off and lead the Eagles in receptions, receiving yards. I think they're going to end up having the most yards if the Chiefs manage to neutralize Barkley like Emmanuel Watson believes they will. So, and, the Eagles, they've got some good guys up front too. Mailata, Dickerson, Juergens, Becton, Lane Johnson. You have Saquon Barkley. You have Dallas Goedert. You have Brown and Smith. You could argue you have more stars on the offense than the Chiefs. Dotson's your slot receiver. You have Johnny Wilson, the rookie. But it feels like the Chiefs, with the Eagles, with how run heavy their offense has been, they're mainly using 2 receiver sets with a tight end because they don't need to play a 3rd receiver. With how potent Barkley's been all year, they don't need to play a 3rd receiver, whether it's Dotson or Johnny Wilson. They really don't. So that's the thing I'm looking at with the Eagles, is they really don't have to play. The Eagles don't have to play a 3 receiver set with how potent the running game's been for them. And you've got Barkley, you've got Gainwell, you've got Will Shipley. The Eagles are 3 deep at running back too, just like the Chiefs. And, Kellen Moore, I think he's going to be the Saints' new head coach, regardless of whether the Eagles win or lose this game. And I think there will be at least 4 lead changes. I think the Eagles will score first, Chiefs will lead after that, and then there will be a bunch of lead changes. I think there will be a lead change in the 4th quarter where the Eagles regain the lead, and I think the Chiefs will take the lead at the end. So I think we're going to see a minimum of 4 lead changes. We could see as many as 6 or 7, Joey, like in the last Super Bowl. So I do think we're going to see a multitude of lead changes in the contest.
Most of the scoring comes early. And then when things settle down, because the adrenaline's going to be pumping, these teams are going to have a lot of energy. And I think the first quarter is going to have it be like 14-14 or 21-14, and then everything settles down, and it's going to be more of a defensive game from then on out. But I think the energy is going to be really high early. For the Eagles, it'll be because, hey, we lost by 3 to them the first time. We're not going to let that happen again. And for the Chiefs, it'll be, hey, we've done this before. We know we have to get on top early. And I think it's going to be high scoring early, but after that, I think it settles down a little bit.
Yeah. Someone suggested, I think on Wednesday's show, I jokingly said, it would be funny if Cooper DeJean had an interception. Caitlin Clark celebrates the interception. Taylor Swift's booth because Cooper DeJean went to Iowa. And then Taylor Swift kicks Caitlin Clark out of her booth during the Super Bowl, because that would steal some headlines away from the game itself, but it would also be like Taylor Swift is having her Travis Kelce moment in the Super Bowl, because if you remember Super Bowl 57, I think Travis Kelce got in Andy Reid's face during the game. He's pissed off during the game, and then he ended up settling down, but he was fired up. He was pissed off. I don't know if he meant to yell at Andy Reid, but I think he did accidentally yell at him in 57 2 years ago. Or was that last year? I think that was 57, though, where Andy Reid and Kelce just yelled at Andy.
It was last year because Reid addressed it, and he said, it was just heat of the game because it was such an intense game that, he came off the field and he was talking about a play, but he was so fired up that it was loud and really intense rather than a calm discussion. And that was just part of the game. You have intense people in a high-pressure situation. That's part of the game. That's how it works. And Reid explained it very well. And it meant absolutely nothing to anybody outside the media.
Yeah, you've got C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, James Bradbury, and Sidney Brown as your safeties. I do like the Chiefs 29-26. When we predicted this Super Bowl 2 years ago on Draft Utopia, 6 people took the Eagles and 5 took the Chiefs. This time around, 4 took the Chiefs and 3 took the Eagles. Orrin and Kerm both took the Eagles again. Wes and I both took Orrin, Tracy, and Kerm took the Eagles again. Wes and I took the Chiefs again. You and Bantle flipped from Eagles in 57 to Chiefs in 59. So you're not the only one to flip from the previous Super Bowl. So, and the other...
here's something we were joking about at work is like, when is the over-under coming on how bad the Chiefs are going to win in the penalty department? So that's something we're looking forward to, because if they're ever going to have a bet that a lot of people would bet on, that'd be it.
What if the Chiefs win the game outright, but the Eagles are the team that wins the penalties? Because
then Vegas would have one hell of a payday.
Because even though the Chiefs are favorites, 54% of the betting public's on the underdog Philadelphia. And the Eagles were the favorite to win the Super Bowl before the NFC Championship. So it feels like Vegas is going to have a big payday regardless of who wins. But
one of my parlays was that the Chiefs would win.
Yeah.
That the Eagles would cover the spread, and at the time the spread was 7.5. So the Eagles would cover that, and the Chiefs would still win. And then there'd be a couple, I think it was Kareem Hunt.
I thought the spread's only 1.5 for Kansas City, and it stayed at 1.5 all week.
It is now, but I made it like right after the Super Bowl happened, and the initial spread was much higher, like 2 weeks ago, than it is now. Now, last time I checked, the spread was at 1. You said 1.5 for the week.
For the Chiefs. I don't.
Yeah.
Because I think the Eagles opened up as the favorites, but I don't know if it was a 6 or 7 point favorite. But
Yeah, no, the Chiefs actually, on Hard Rock Bet, the Chiefs actually ended up as a favorite by 7.5. So, I mean, that was the initial, as soon as the first line came down, I made the bet. So I was trying to be first in line. And if the Chiefs win, I'm in good shape.
so I only think the Eagles lose by
For me to
winning 29-26 by a field goal. I do have half. I think that's way too low. I don't think the over-under should be at 5.5, but I do think it should be at least above 50, in the 50 to 54 range.
I do think that, let me go back here and I'm going to see if I can go back into my history and see what the actual initial thing was. So there's my 2-bet parlay. 3-bet parlay. Okay, so it was a 3-bet parlay, not a 4-bet parlay. Let's try to see. I had an odd even total over 48.5. And the Chiefs negative 2.5 on the 3-bet parlay. The 4-bet parlay I put down. I guess I put down multiple parlays because I didn't know what the hell I was doing at the time, probably drunk. Was the Eagles, because this would be the first one I did. The Eagles were +7 on the spread, +7.5. The over at the time was 53.5. The over field goal, which I had, was 3.5, and the Chiefs to win. So that was the first one. So you can see the first parlay I made and the bet compared to the second 3-bet parlay that I made. And here's a parlay I made for some reason that I wasn't quite sure about. Was Travis Kelce and Saquon Barkley the anytime first quarter touchdown. So you can kind of see the progression of the betting action there just based on my drunken bet because I had so much awful win earlier this year.
Yep.
So I guess that helps the podcast a little bit that I actually won a big bet and ended up with enough money to make a stupid parlay.
Yep. I agree.
So it has gone, everything seems to have gone down. And that is an interesting situation.
Yeah, and what I think's going to happen with the Chiefs after this year, we'll get into that briefly because my brother is going to come on at noon, but we can either get into the Bills and the Commanders offseason outlooks now versus next week, or I can tell you what I think the Chiefs over the next few years after this season, assuming they win it. Because I think Kelce after this game, Chiefs will get. I think the Bills will probably get the 1 seed next year and lose to the Bengals in the divisional round because the Bills get the Chiefs, Ravens, and Bengals at home. So if they manage to win all 3 of those games at home, there's a very good chance they're the 1 seed because the Bills' toughest road opponents are Houston Texans, Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers. Those are the Bills' 3 toughest road opponents next year. So there's a very good chance if the Bills handle business at home against the Chiefs, Bengals, and Ravens in the regular season, there's a very good chance they come away with the 1 seed next year. So instead of the Chiefs. So what I think will happen is Bengals will probably go into Buffalo as the 4 seed, and Burrow will beat the Bills in Buffalo again. And then the Chiefs would get the Bengals without Travis Kelce, who retires, and they would not beat the Bengals without Travis Kelce. And then Andy Reid retires. And then the Chiefs get back to the AFC title without Andy Reid, but they end up hiring Kyle Shanahan, who gets fired from San Francisco next year. And the Chiefs end up hiring him as Andy Reid retires. So they basically continue the Mahomes era with Shanahan. That's what I think is going to happen. I know it sounds crazy, Joey, but that's what I think ends up happening. Andy Reid retires after next season, and the Chiefs hire Kyle Shanahan after the 49ers moved on from him. And one of the rumors we heard is that John Lynch wanted to bring in Kevin Stefanski if the Browns fired him. Same with the Eagles. They were also looking at Stefanski. So I do think maybe I don't know I don't know how that'll affect the Browns, in all honesty. I want to keep the focus on the Chiefs, but next year, I'm saying next year, let's say in 2026, Andy Reid retires. The Chiefs, the 49ers have another bad year. They fire Kyle Shanahan. The Chiefs hire Kyle Shanahan. And then the 49ers hire Kevin Stefanski in 2026 if the Browns fire him after next season.
I could see that happening. Thing is, though, we did find out that through Jason Lloyd of The Athletic that, Jimmy Haslam was behind the Deshaun Watson contract. He has basically said, "My bad, guys. You got time to dig us out of the hole." So, is it going to be this? Are they going to be on the hot seat and get fired after next year? I don't know, because when the owner says "my bad," well, that brings in unknown variables that none of us know, because what the hell is a billionaire thinking?
They went from 9-8. They went from a team that I projected at 9-8 to 3-14. I would think there is very little room for error. Meaning, if they do not win 7 to 9 games, if they go 5-12, Stefanski's getting fired in that situation. So is Barry, most likely.
Yeah, I agree. I just acknowledge that an owner never says "my bad," and Jimmy Haslam basically said "my bad." So
and the owner taking accountability could be a nothing burger. It could be something significant, but it could also be a nothing burger at the same time.
And that's where the confusion comes in. It's like, owners don't say "my bad." So if an owner says "my bad," it's like, okay, what the hell do we do now? Because we don't know what the hell that means, because they never do it. The last owner to do that was Eddie DeBardo, and he ended up selling to his nephew. So it's like, what do we do? Where's the precedent for an owner, for a guy that's worth $13 billion saying?
So when did Haslam say that? Did he say that yesterday or this week?
It was something that Jason Lloyd found out from insiders within the organization, that it was Andrew Berry initially went after Watson. Berry wanted to pull out. And then Haslam said, "No, you go get him, and I'm going to guarantee the entire contract." And that's where the problem lies. And then when he kept the fancy in them, he was basically like, because there was speculation they were going to be fired, I guess Haslam was like, "Oh, it's my bad. Pull us out of it, guys." And it's like, okay. And that came out last week, I think it was. I'm not sure the exact day.
Okay.
But,
Only reason I inquired is because something similar happened with the Crew. Cucho Hernandez, their striker, got bought out yesterday. So what do they do to rectify the situation? They trade $200,000 in allocation money and a 26 first round pick to the Colorado Rapids for an international roster slot. And they've probably already got a guy in mind to come in to Columbus to replace Cucho Hernandez. They're not trading away that much allocation money and a first-round pick away to the Colorado Rapids, Stan Kroenke's team, unless they've got a guy in mind that they want to bring into Columbus to help them win right now. They're not making that trade. Yeah, he owns the Crew too.
Yeah, so he's going through a awful lot of high guys right now. And I'm not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing.
I'm not either, because we got to see who they get. Because the Crew don't get like a big-time star free agent. This could backfire and close their championship window, because I think there were two players the Crew could not afford to trade. Their goalie, Roman Celentano, and their striker, Cucho Hernandez. Those are the two players on that team they could not afford to lose no matter what. If you lose somebody else that's a key starter, you can replace them in free agency or the draft or in a trade. This was a guy you couldn't afford to lose. And Cucho Hernandez, 25-year-old striker. 31 goals in 48 games over the last 2 years.
The only thing we know for sure right now about Jimmy Haslam is that nothing's for sure, because we don't know what the hell he's thinking at the moment. He's going with a lot of my bads and let's fix things, and he may not know how to fix them. So all we can do with Jimmy Haslam right now is look and say, this is going to be an interesting ride.
Yeah, and this is the thing with the Rapids. I mean, the Rapids, we're hearing from their veterans that the rookies are pushing them for playing time, that the rookies are doing that good in camp. The draft picks are doing that good in camp for minutes. And now have 3 first-round picks next year to pair up with Harris, who was my top player in the draft. It's had him at number 1 on their board, too. And they have a documentary on Apple TV about scouting him leading up to the Super Draft. So now they're going to have 3 more first picks in 2026 because of the trade with the Crew. They already had their pick in the Unions first, but now they'll have the Crew's first. You've got enough draft.
I don't know. Sports season right now is just draft season, and what these teams have done and things that are coming out, and just like, it just me or you, does this seem a little bit weird with it?
It does seem a little bit weirder than usual.
Yeah, it's like a full moon that we haven't seen at some point that just happened to hang over the entire North American continent, because things just don't seem unusual. Things have been happening. I'm not sure whether to be excited about it, like it, be confused by it, or just throw my hands up and say, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Because after Miro Heiskanen's knee surgery on Wednesday, Peter DeBoer said he's month, but initially he told people on the radio it's 8 to 12 weeks. And so some speculation, even though he had the knee surgery, he's going to be back for the playoffs. I'm not sure about that, but we'll see what happens with that as the situation continues to develop. Oh, and speaking of teams winning, yeah, the Pittsburgh Penguins beat the New York Rangers without Sidney Crosby and Malkin. Both Crosby and Malkin were injured, and they went into New York and they beat the Rangers. So I don't know what the hell is going on in NHL right now.
It's like we need to just, be like, okay, for some reason right now we've got billionaires admitting mistakes. We've got one team that has so many graphics they don't know what to do with.
And they've got 2 first-round picks in 2027. The Rapids had 3 top 5 picks in 2024. They managed to draft 5 players in the first round this year. They've got 3 more first-round picks next year, and they got 2 in 2027, which is just insane to comprehend all that.
Okay, so let's just calm this shit down. Let's just calm this shit down.
Yeah, we need the volume knob on the guitar from Back to the Future at like a 3 or a 4, and we have it at a 10 right now. So dial down the volume, Marty McFly. Dial down the volume.
Just a little bit, because this stuff doesn't happen. And especially doesn't happen within a week and a half of each other. Just get a little lower. Dial down the volume a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean a lot. Because this is getting weird.
Yeah, I mean, basically last night I participated in a group mock with the Chiefs, and I also watched OHL, because now the CHL is live streaming hockey games on YouTube, like the Western Hockey League. I told you about the game week. Keaton Verhoff, the top defenseman in the 2026 NHL draft, played against the Kelowna Rockets. He looked really good in that game. I mean, if he's not getting enough option, because we've talked about some of the stud defensemen in the next few NHL drafts, like Matthew Schaefer last week and Landon Dupont a few times, but we haven't mentioned Verhoff. I mean, he's currently projected to go third in the 2026 draft behind Vigio Brock, a center from Sweden, and Gavin McKenna. And Jarome Iginla's youngest son is like 31st on the initial rankings for the 2026 NHL draft. So you can make the Stanley Cup, lose the Stanley Cup, and potentially get Iginla's son at 31 next year. So when my friend on YouTube, who runs the Steel Flyers podcast, says the next 2 NHL drafts are loaded, 2026 looks really like Jarome Iginla's youngest son that late in the draft, because his oldest son, Tej, went 6th last year. So, yeah, it's like, should not be able to get the youngest Iginla that, but it's like, I guess that's the draft, so it is what it is. All right. We'll get into the Bills and the Commanders. It's 11:07. We need something to do with William, because William's not going to show up. That's his right. He has the right to do other stuff if he's tired or if he's got other business he's got to attend to. But we got to talk about something else exciting.
I do everything at once.
Yeah, same here. Like I've got 30. Got like 37 picks in my MLB mock done. I just need the next 5. The Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers write-ups, then 41, 42, and I'm done. But yeah. So got through all of most of the grunt work last night. And you look at the Commanders, they're going to have a lot of salary cap space with Jayden Daniels in a rookie deal. Jayden Daniels is only making $8.5 million. He does not make $10 million until year 3 of that rookie deal. Sam Hartman, I don't know why this says Sam Hartman's on the Commanders. That is not true. I mean, did the Seahawks cut him and the Commanders got him back? Like, Spot Track says he's on the Commanders, Sam Hartman. Or is Sam Hartman's the Notre Dame quarterback. I'm sorry. I got Sam Hartman and Sam Howell confused. I'm sorry. That's on me. Joey did nothing wrong. That is completely and entirely my fault.
Yeah, you kind of confused me there. I was like, what?
Yeah, I got Sam Hartman, the Notre Dame quarterback, with the Shane Falco hair confused with the North Carolina QB that played for the Commanders and Seahawks. I got those two, so that's on me, okay? That isn't. But yeah, Jayden Daniels and Sam Hartman. Daniels and Hartman are the QBs. Yeah, Daniels and Hartman are the QBs. Eckler, Brian Robinson Jr. are the running backs, but I thought Chris Rodriguez Jr. was still on his rookie deal. Apparently, the Commanders do not have him listed in the contract under Spot Track. I'm going to check something really quickly here. I'm going to check the free agents, because that's just Jr., a 2023 sixth-round pick, listed on a rookie, be an RFA or an ERFA? Like, what the heck's going on? Chris Rodriguez Jr. is an ERFA. He's an ERFA. That's why he's not on the active roster for next season. That makes more sense. I appreciate that.
I thought that was that way. I thought it was a 3-year deal with a team option and or
it was a 2-year deal with an ERFA 2025 and an RFA for 2026.
Okay, because I know 6th and 7th round picks are kind of weird with that. I know 3rd round picks have 4 years. The 4th year being a restricted free agent.
Yep.
Situation. 5th and 6th round picks, 5th to 7th round picks are kind of they're in that weird section. And so, interesting note. I thought he was still on the roster. So he may end up back on the roster.
Well, he started out this year on the practice squad after Jeremy McNichols took the 3rd-string job in the preseason. And then when Eckler Robinson got injured early in the year, he ended up getting promoted from the practice squad to the active roster. And then he took McNichols' 3rd-string gig in the regular season.
And that's why I say he's probably going to end up on the roster.
I agree. He will end up on the roster. I don't think the Commanders are going to do anything at running back right now. They have 3 good running backs. They don't really need to do anything there. McLaurin only has 1 year left on his deal. You may want to extend Scary Terry. I'm just saying, he's making $25.5 million. He was supposed to make $5.6 million in his deal, but you voided that. You voided the 2026 year of McLaurin's contract, and it's like, why? Why the hell would you mess with that? McLaurin's your best player. Why in the hell? Maybe Dan Snyder voided that last year before he left the building, and then he's like, and then it. But did you hear Dan Snyder was pissed that the Commanders were doing well when he sold the team? They were doing better without him. He was pissed about that.
Now that are in the spotlight, those are 2 great businessmen.
John Harris, Magic Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like they make Dan Snyder look like a freaking amateur. So I don't know why Dan Snyder is so upset. You know, he was a bad businessman, and he made a lot of money off that sale. To 2 really good businessmen. One of which, well, I think both of them, because they both owned sports teams before that, didn't they?
Yes. John Harris owns the Philadelphia 76ers NBA team and the New Jersey Devils NHL team. Magic Johnson owns the LAFC MLS team, and I think he's a partial owner of the Lakers, too. I don't think he's majority owner like the Busts, but I think he's a partial owner of the Lakers. Like, he's not like a co-owner of the Commander. He's a co-owner of the Commanders. He's majority owner of LAFC, the MLS team. And I think he's like a minority owner. Like, he owns 10% of the Lakers. I think that's his resume.
Yeah, I think you're right on the 10%, because I wasn't sure about 10% or 15%, but I know it's around that area.
Yeah.
You know, because in his last contract that he signed with the Lakers before his retirement, it was a 10-year with a future ownership stake. And I think that's where the ownership stake comes in. Is after his retirement, that kicked in.
Yep.
So, we don't talk about Magic Johnson's pedigree.
I think McLaurin is going to get extended again in the offseason. With all the cap space the Commanders have, there is no reason not to extend McLaurin again if he's only got 1 year on his contract.
Chris, do you remember, I don't know if you were born, when Magic Johnson was the coach of the Lakers for 56 games?
I was born in 1991, but I didn't really watch sports until 96, 97, or 98, so...
Yeah, you wouldn't have been old enough to witness that disaster. It was basically the Lakers couldn't find Magic, who was Barcelona, Gary Buck went to him and said, Magic, you need a coach for the last 50 games of the year. And I was like, crap. And he went out there and coached, and it was a disaster.
It's a shame HBO canceled Showtime Lakers, because they could have used season 3 to resolve the Celtics-Lakers rivalry, and then season 4 to start the Lakers-Pistons or Lakers-76ers or Lakers-Knicks rivalry. And then you could have had season 5 or 6. You could have transitioned out from Pat Riley and had Magic coaching the team, and then ended the show there. Sold it after 2 seasons.
I forget who was the coach between Riley and Magic, but he got fired, and they were like, crap, we don't have anybody. Magic, you know basketball, go with it, you know? And it was like, it was a Magic finally said the best player should not coach.
There were actually 2 coaches between Pat Riley. Mike Dunleavy coached the Lakers from 90 to 92, and Randy Plund coached the Lakers. And then after that, Bill Burtka coached the Lakers for 2 games before Magic took over. So Magic was the second interim head coach for the Lakers that year. He wasn't even the first interim coach after.
Yeah, and I find it funny. Magic said the best players should never be a coach because they expect people to live up to that. And then Larry Bird came in and won a coach of the year with the Indiana Pacers and coached them to their only finals up here. Then Michael Jordan, who never went to Game 7, ended up only beating the Pacers by 5 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in both last year. So I find it funny that Magic said that, and then right after, Bird's like, oh, I drank the hardest beer on the planet. He told it. I'm going to go do it. I find that funny. I might be the only one. Maybe it's because the era that I grew up in, and I'm sure people my age are going to find that funny as well. But I find it hilarious that Magic said that, and the Magic-Bird rivalry ends with that. Just because Magic said it couldn't be done, and Bird doesn't.
Yep.
I find that hilarious.
That's fair.
I know that got off topic a little bit, but that seems like the most hilarious thing to any basketball historian or fan or anybody who's researched the NBA and any real depth. I just find that hilarious. That would be the end of the rivalry. Is that these 2 great friends, one of them says it can't be done, and the other one says, oh my Brutzweiler.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the options here for the Commanders. They've got McLaurin, McCaffrey under contract, tight ends, other receivers, Lawrence Cager, Michael Strachan, Chris Moore, Felton, Cosmere Allen, tight ends under contract, Ben Sano.
McCaffrey's going to be big time at some point. Last year, he makes a huge splash, but he made the splash that mattered in some of those games. And I'm looking at that, and I'm saying, this dude's got a hell of a future. He may not be his brother, but he's got a hell of a future.
Yep. Ben Sano and Cole Turner are under contract next year with the Commanders at tight end. Tyree Jackson also there. But looking at the Commanders, you have left tackle Brandon Coleman's going to be back. Right guard Sam Cosmi is going to be back. Center Tyler Biades is going to be back. Andrew Wiley, the right tackle, is going to be back. And I think Nick Allegretti is going to be back at left guard. So the Commanders are going to have their entire offensive line from last year under contract. All the starters, no depth players, but all the starters back. And there's a possibility they might. I thought the Commanders were going to move on from Sam Cosmi after his deal, but they gave him like a 4-year extension or a 5-year extension because he's making $10.5 million next year, and then he's making $20.5 million in 2026. I like Sam Cosmi, but no way in hell am I paying him $20 million. He has not done enough to earn that. I think he's a good player. You could argue he's worth 10 to 15 million, but 20 million a year? No. Pump the brakes on that. That is way too much money to be paying Sam Cosmi. You're paying him 7% of your salary cap. And the reality is he probably only deserves 5% at most. I like Cosmi, but with his injury history, I would not pay him $20 million a year. I just think that's a no. That's
We're talking about quarterback numbers here.
yeah, but they're paying Cosmi $20 million to play right guard. They're paying him $20.5 million to play right guard.
You're looking at.
So am I wrong? Is that not an overpay, or is that an overpay?
That is an overpay because let's look at the Browns. They've got the most expensive guard paying them in the NFL. They're going to be paying almost 40-something million if Patonio doesn't retire.
You know, you could just move Coleman to right guard and draft a left tackle in the first round. You don't have to pay Cosmi $10.5 million a year or $20.5 million in 2026 or $20 million in 2027. That's just unnecessary.
Agree, because you look at it and he says the Browns paid Wyatt Teller. At the time, he was considered one of the best right guards in the league. And it's just, I don't care. They might be the best guard in the league 1 year. In 2 years, they're starting to fall off. They took a lot of beatings. Okay? And Hunter, we've seen him fall off. So you're paying your guard, your best guard, $20 million. So guess what? He's going to fall off. He might not fall off this year. It might be he might go into the third year before it's starting to fall off. But it's going to happen unless he is all-world guard, unless he is Joe Patonio in his prime and was.
Sam Cosmi has the 7th. This is really going to piss you off. Sam Cosmi is now the 7th highest paid guard. Only 6 guards making more than him are Quinn Miners, Joe Thuney, Chris Lidstrom, Landon Dickerson, Quentin Nelson, Robert Hunt. Sam Cosmi is making more money than Zach Martin. I'm sorry, that is a crime.
Wow. Yeah, that is, wow. Yeah,
he's not just making more than Teller, he's making more than Zach Martin, too. I'm sorry, that's where I put my foot in the sand, and you just gotta.
Yeah, because that's. You're looking at a lot of people making more than possibly the best guard in the NFL in Martin. So that's wow. Taylor was one of the best guards, but he fell off quick with injury. But Antonio was considered the best guard a couple years ago. But he got old. But Zach Martin is the one guy that's just been consistently great.
Him and Nelson are the two that have been consistently great. Even though Thuney, Dickerson are getting there, Hunt's getting there, Lidstrom's getting there, Miners is getting there. The two that have been consistently great are Nelson and Martin. The two guards that were...
Whether due to age or injury.
I wouldn't say everyone else has fallen off, but you've got guys like Robert Hunt, Landon Dickerson, Thuney, Lidstrom, Miners that are good, but they're not in the same tier as Martin or Nelson in terms of consistency or star power.
They're not in that tier. Maybe I used the wrong word, but they're in the tier that you would look at.
Yeah, exactly.
In the upper. And the two guys.
Basically, they're in the Pro Bowl tier, but they're not in the future Hall of Fame. Future Hall of Fame tier is probably reserved for Martin and Nelson at this point.
Yeah, it's like you could. I mean, I know people have said Tony will be on the outskirts, but he probably won't get in. But Martin and Nelson are just kind of above the above.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Thunny might get in because of his rings. Thunny might get in because he won 3 rings with the Patriots, and he will have this would be his 3rd Super Bowl with the Chiefs. So he has 2 with the Patriots and 3 with the Chiefs. If Thunny would have more rings than Mahomes. So I think if the Chiefs win Sunday, Thunny probably will get in, even though he's playing left tackle instead of guard now. Thunny will probably get in if he wins on Sunday, if the Chiefs win on Sunday. He's not in the same tier as Nelson and Martin, but he would probably get in the Hall of Fame with 5 rings, I would think.
How old is Martin and Nelson? Because it's like,
we'll get to the Commanders' defense, audience, but this is just a fun segue with the guard rankings because we're talking about Cosme getting more money than Zach Martin, and Quentin Nelson's 28. I think he was only 21 or 20 when he was drafted. 21 when he was drafted, and Zach Martin is 34. Because I think most rookies are 20 or 21 when they start. I think Martin was 23 his rookie year. So, yeah. And he was 23 his rookie year, and he turned 24 in his rookie season. And the same thing is 10th year in the league. So, yeah.
But still, it's like we just named a couple examples of guys who are in the top tier and fell off because of age, and this guy's still performing like he's like 27. I mean, that is more than impressive. I mean,
it is.
You have to admit that. That's, he's still one of the best guards in the league. I mean, top tier, first ballot Hall of Famer type deal. We're talking, deal. Former Chiefs guard, I think it was.
Yeah.
Type level of not just really doing everything and consistently. Like, I know I like to stick up Joe Paterno, but he had a time of about 8 years. Martin still does. His time has lasted about 12 years.
Yeah, he was drafted in the first round of the 2014 draft, and this is his 10th year in the league. And
that is astonishing for a guard. I mean, he's going up on all-time great. Now he's not going to get, who is the Oilers and center that spent 22 years in the league. He's never going to get to that level. That's a completely different,
9.1 million is the market value for Zach Martin. So you can get Zach Martin for under 10 million next year. Sign my ass up if that's all I have to pay for Zach Martin. That is an underpay. Martin deserves 10 million a year, even at his age with his level of play. I'm not going to say he deserves 15 million, but he deserves at least 10 million. So if I'm getting Zach Martin for 9.1 million, you can make a legitimate argument that is the best value you're getting for a free agent in this year's free agency pool.
Now, here's the thing. If I'm the Browns or Patriots, if Joe Paterno retires, and I don't care what happens with the Patriots, I'm both franchises, and I'm saying, we will give you clothing, we will give you over. Just because you you have sustained excellence, and we'll give you a 3-year deal. If you have sustained excellence so long, I don't think you're going to drop off. I think if I'm the Browns and Patriots, I look back and I say, because Batonio has said if basically come out and insinuate that if Miles Garrett is traded, he's retiring. Well, guess what? Zach Martin. Patriots have come out and their offensive line just sucks. So, guess what? Zach Martin. So, guess what? Oh, Zach Martin.
That is just insane that he is getting that little. Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Tevin Jenkins, the Bears guard, is a higher market value than Zach Martin. Whoever made these numbers on Spot Track, I literally want to slap the shit out of them like Batman when he slaps the shit out of Robin. I don't want to hurt them, but it's like, this is insulting to Zach Martin to say that Tevin Jenkins is worth more money than Zach Martin. That is disrespectful to Zach Martin. I'm not gonna have it.
I like Tevin Jenkins. I think he's a very good player. But to say he's better than Zach Martin, I gotta look at that and I gotta say, drug test. It's a drug test. Because here's the thing. Zach Martin's better than Joe Batonio at this point, and Joe Batonio makes $20 million. He's better than Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller makes $20 million. He's better than the Redskins guards who are making more than him.
The people that construct these contracts are looking at age. They're looking at age and they're overlooking everything else, and they've got Aaron Banks. If you want to pay Aaron Banks over Zach Martin because he's younger, fine. I don't agree with that, but I can respect it. Jenkins, I like Jenkins, but he's had some moments where he made costly penalties on the line. I can't sit here and say he's worth $10.3 million if Martin's only worth 9.1. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Martin is going to play until he's 38, 40 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. He is in that great of shape. He is still in his prime, which is absolutely ridiculous. 10 years being in their prime, that is unheard of for a guard. Okay. He is going to play, and he's going to be in prime condition for another 3 or 4 years. Why not? Why not sign it? Why not do it? It's just not that evaluation is just horrific. I don't know who did it, but if the evaluation is that bad, they need to be dropped.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, that is just horrific. I don't know who came up with that. I don't know why. And I don't know who is signing these contracts.
It's a writer on Spot Track. They're in charge of assigning market values for each of the upcoming free agents. The market value for Stephon Diggs is $13.5 million. So Diggs is $4.4 million worth more than Zach Martin, according to Spot Track. Stephon Diggs is worth $4.4 million more dollars than Zach Martin, even with his injury history and attitude. I disagree. I would say.
I mean, C.J. Stroud was questioning the Texans for trading for him. I mean, yet, no matter how talented he is, I mean, Zach Martin is the model teammate. Okay? That should, why? Just why and what and how do you come up with that number? Because Diggs may not even get another big money contract because of his attitude. So what? And Martin's probably going to have a bidding war. What is what is the major malfunction here? What is this writer missing?
It's the writer's not listed. The writer is anonymous, and they don't even have like the market values.
There's probably a reason for that. Because he probably doesn't want to be listed because he knew he screwed up.
Yeah, we'll get to the Commanders' defense here. We'll get to the Commanders' defense here. It's 11:35. Defense for the Commanders, I do think Jonathan Allen does apparently have one more year in his contract, but I do think he is a buyout candidate with Johnny Newton, Deron Payne. I do think Allen's a buyout candidate because they can create more cap space. Frankie Louvu is a UFA. I think Bobby Wagner's a UFA. Let's take a look at Bobby Wagner's market value. If Bobby Wagner's market value is lower than Diggs, Joey's going to be pissed. He's going to go on a rant about that. Levante David's market value is a meager $6.7 million, even though the Buccaneers only paid him $2.5 million last year. His market values. Bobby Wagner is $7.2 million. I think Wagner's worth at least $8 million for 2 years. Wagner's market value is only $7.2 million, which I disagree with. I think it's worth at least $8 million. I'm not going to say it's $9 or $10 million, but I think he's worth at least $7.5 or $8 million at his age.
I will bet nine to 10 million because of the importance of the leadership that he has brought to a team that desperately needed it, and he has shown that he can see the third piece of the defense even at least. Now, I think for a 2-year deal.
But Diggs making twice much money as Wagner would piss Joey off. I can see why that would piss you off. And to be fair, it does piss me off a little bit too.
Look at the impact of a player. And what they bring. I mean, what are these? They're putting a guy in there.
They're basically saying QB, receiver, tackles, edge rushers, corners get big money, and the rest of the guys have to take leftovers and accept them. It's not going to work like that. Wagner is being underpaid. Wagner's an underpay. You have to identify underpays versus overpays with free agency. It's a very important part of the process. And so far, Wagner at 7.1 and Zach Martin at 9.1 are two of the biggest underpays I've seen. Easily. It's criminal.
I give Wagner 2 years, $18 million full guarantee, and say, you get to retire with us, remake our defense, continue to remake our defense. That's it. And I will give Martin a 3-year deal, $12 million a year, with 2 years guarantee, and the third year being a team option. The first 2 years full guarantee, third year team option. If he falls off, you cut him, no harm done. And if he doesn't, well, you give him for a third year. I mean, come on, guys. This is not a very difficult situation to go through. I mean, those two players are easy to deal with. Easy to deal with. I mean, you can sit back. You can have heavy negotiation with other guys, but these two guys, this is easy. This is a no-brainer. What the hell are you thinking? I don't get it. I do not get it. I don't get it. They're the most consistent top guys at their positions in the NFL that you can get for a little bit cheaper because of their age. Just give them a little extra because they're Hall of Famers. For Wilson's half an Hall of Famer. And they're still producing at a high level. Give them a little bit of credit for what other teams give them. Guarantee at least 2 years of that stuff. And go with it. They can give them a signing bonus.
Russell Wilson's market value is 38.7. Are worth that much, but that's an over his age, and considering the rumors Steelers aren't going to bring him back, that I like Wilson, but at his age, 38.7 million is an overpay at this point in his career.
With Wilson, he's interesting because he has to fit a certain narrative. He has to fit a certain offense, and if you, as we learned with the Broncos, if he doesn't fit that offense, it's not working out well. But if he fits that, as we've seen with both Seattle and with Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh was impressed with Justin Fields and how well he fit into that. And I think that they were impressed to the point where they're just saying, Russ, man, you're going to be paid for you. This is just like we paid the veteran minimum after you were cut, and the other team paid.
Oh my God. Nick Chubb's market value is a meager 3.3 million. Zach Wilson has the exact same market value as Nick Chubb. I am not kidding you, Joey. Zach Wilson's market value is equal to Nick Chubb's.
No, here's the deal. About Nick Chubb. He came off of the injury.
I get that the injury history has lowered his value, but I would still pay him $4 or $5 million a year easily.
Here's the bottom line. I think he would be willing to re-sign with the Browns for $4 million for the next 3 years to team up. I don't think he would be willing to sign with anybody else for that low. Because the Browns stood by him, and Nick Chubb has, through his college, high school, through his life, he is a loyal man. Okay, you watch my back, I watch yours. That's the way Nick Chubb is as a human. So I think that he would be willing to do $3.5, $4 million for the Browns. If that valuation goes beyond the Browns, hell no. He would probably get $6 to $8 million on the month.
It's just
okay. Let's face it. His last injury was a broken foot. It was a freak accident. Okay. It was a 3-week injury. 3-week injury. The problem was it was still late in the season, man.
And I get quarterback's the most important position in football, but how in the hell is Zach Wilson worth the exact same market value as Nick Chubb? I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Here's the deal. 50% Nick Chubb is still a top 10 NFL running back. Okay, 50% Nick Chubb is still a top 10 NFL running back. Okay, yards after carry, Nick Chubb is number last, I think it was 6-7 years ahead of Derrick Henry. It is close. And we have to consider that Henry did miss a good bit of the one season, but also Nick Chubb missed a good bit of last season. Well, Nick Chubb missed the last 2 years. So it is a skewed stat a little bit, but it's a stat that says, hey, this guy, a year after, we know what happens a year later. Teams give up on the run because they don't go and be their former selves immediately. A year later, they come back and make that. Okay, we know how this works. Something I read a few years ago. was that all of the advancements was coming.
As much as I'd like to continue this rant, we got to get to the Commanders secondary. We've been on this free agent.
Give me 1 second just to finish this. It's a very quick point.
All right.
Medical advancements made that are coming out now for us, they've been doing those advancements professional athletes for 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years in advance. So the stuff that they did to Nick Chubb, he's going to be back because his medical advance, he's getting special. Everybody was hearing that. So that evaluation, anybody who knows anything about what's going on. Okay, I just wanted to.
Yeah. Lattimore's going to be back. Percy Butler, Jeremy Reeves, Jartavius Martin, Mike St. all going to be back with the Commanders next year. So really lose a lot. They have a lot of cap space to play with, $97 million, and they do have luxury of reloading. I mean, and we I think we'd have to, because if you can get all three of those guys for $20 million, under $20 million, I say you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like just for not only that, but Martin $10 million, you give Chubb $5 million, another $8 million on there. It's like if you can get all three of those guys for $23 million.
Zach Martin for 9.1, get Bobby Wagner for 7.1, and then you get Nick Chubb for 3.3. That comes out to $19.5 million. That comes out to exactly 19.5. 7.1 plus 9.1 is 16.2, and the 3.3 Nick Chubb makes is exactly $19.5 million on the dot for those three players.
And so if you look at discrepancies within pay, and what could be in what that valuation is, 19 million, just say 23 million, and the rest is
because they've got $97 million to spend. That is a hit for the Commanders to get those three players. That is a drop in the freaking.
That we had a running back. I mean, oh my God.
Because you'd have Nick Chubb, you'd have Brian Robinson in a rookie deal, and you'd have Eckler. How the hell are you going to stop that?
Go again. I don't care who you are or what defense you have. How to deal with that and not knowing what's going to happen from one play to another, but knowing you have three guys who are explosive and devastating like that, that's grotesque. Because, and then you've got a franchise quarterback and make shit and chicken salad, or I don't know, that can, magic in the red zone. Like, dude, you would have to look at Washington. I don't care what the Chiefs do. If they pull off that of players,
Yeah, I would get, if you can get T. Higgins plus those 3 players, I think you can actually win the Super Bowl with that roster. If you get T. Higgins to pair with McLaurin plus the. Well, the Commanders have $97 million, so the Commanders could get Higgins, they could get those 3, and they would probably still have $40 million left over, give or take.
You know, you add T. Higgins on top of it, and it's like, this is a no-brainer. They're the front runners to win the Super Bowl. It's a no-brainer. If they've got on discount now, 2 to 3 years. But at the same time, that's 2 to 3 potential Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Based on, depending on their draft. Okay, because Commanders are showing their pretty good draft.
Yep.
So it would be a 2 to 3 year window as we would know it now.
I agree.
That 2 to 3 year window would dominate the NFC. They would dominate the NFC. And I don't see, as good as the AFC is, I don't think anybody would be able to stand up against it. I really don't. Because just the combination would be insurmountable. I just don't see any AFC team that would be able to deal with that combination that they would bring in.
Yeah, Jeremy Chin is a UFA. Jeremy Chin's only made $4.1 million on a market value. His market value went up to $6.1 million, but he's not going to be getting a big payday at this time.
Jeremy Chin isn't bad. He's not a bad player, but I think he's more of a support role than a superstar.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. What is the market value for Trey Smith, the Chiefs guard? $19.7 million. So Trey Smith's market value is double what Zach Martin's is. Trey.
Last time I said that, Chris, I said about Jordan Poyer, and I had rotted out tomato all over my face. So,
yeah.
So I'm, he's going to turn out to be 5 years.
Yeah, but Trey Smith, the Chiefs, $0.7 million. So that's double. He's going to pay Zach Martin, essentially. But Trey. Smith hasn't given up a sack each of the last. To be fair to Trey Smith, he hasn't given up a sack each of the last 3 years. So.
I have more faith in Trey Smith to continue to be a superstar than anybody that is higher than Zach Martin. You're looking at a guy who can continue and potentially end up being one of the best, if not the best guard in the NFL in time. So at least there's something to look forward to.
Yeah, exactly.
So Trey Smith, I mean, his valuation and his salary, okay, I can get behind that because you're banking on the next several years of Trey Smith continuing to be one of the best in the game.
Yep.
I mean, and I can look at that and I can see a sliver of hope.
Yep.
And if I could see a sliver of hope, I'm fine. It's just some of those other guys are like, There's no hope there. It's stupid.
Yep.
So no.
Allen is going to be back. So is Trubisky. So is Mike White, Shane Shell, James Cook, and Ray Davis are going to be back for the Bills. Frank Gore Jr. was on practice, but Ty Johnson set to be a UFA. The third string running back if Ty Johnson doesn't come back. And honestly, I think Frank Gore Jr.'s upside is higher than Ty Johnson, so I would just let Ty Johnson walk. Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and Keon Coleman are the only returning receivers. Mac Hollins is a UFA. Amari Cooper's a UFA. Fox and Dalton Kincaid will be back. Deion Dawkins will be back at left tackle. McGovern will be back center. Brown, right tackle. David Edwards will be back at left guard, and Osiris Torrance will be back at right guard. So the Bills will have their entire offensive line back next year. Von Miller, Ed Oliver will be back. Gregory Rosso got a fifth-year tender, so he will be back for one more year. Epineza will be back. Epineza got an extension until 2029, but the last 3 years of the deal were voided. So Epineza will be in the final year of his contract this season. So will Rosso, Ed Oliver. Daquan Jones will be back, making $9.4 million. Dwayne Carter will be the backup defensive tackle. Javon Sullivan will be the number 4 edge rusher. So, I mean, there's some pieces there. Milano and Bernard will be back. Dorian Williams and Balin Spector will be back as backups. Benford will be back in the final year of his rookie deal. Rasul Douglas is a UFA. Teron Johnson's back at nickel. Kyrie Elam, who took over for an injured Christian Benford, is the number 2 corner now. And, you know, it's the Steelers in the playoffs last year, but he was horrible against the Chiefs when filling in for an injured Christian Benford. Just simply outmatched in that AFC title game. Cam Lewis is back, though. So I think if Rasul Douglas leaves, things get real interesting at that number 2 cornerback role, Joey, as to what's going to happen next to Benford. Icy in Buffalo there. And Taylor Rapp is back at strong safety. Mar Hamlin will not be back at free safety. Cole Bishop will take over for Rapp. And then Tyler Bass and Sam Martin are back at kicker. So not a lot of turnover for the Bills. A lot of their core guys are back, but they may have to reload at a few positions. But I trust Cole Bishop at free safety if Hamlin leaves. And I don't really think the Bills are losing any talent as far as their offense goes. They may need to add some more receiver depth, maybe upgrade at receiver, upgrade at corner in the draft, but I don't feel maybe get more established stars at those positions. But I don't feel like the Bills window is closing anytime soon. And then that'll bring us to the Eagles and the Chiefs. But we'll get to those teams next week. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that really quickly? Yeah, because I noticed William wasn't awake in the morning, but he was awake at night, and I'm guessing he did a lot of edits and rants and stuff he promoted.
My initial, basically, the Mondays have one whole feature. And even if they don't get Nick Chubb or an interior...
We're talking about the Bills, not the Broncos. We were talking about the Bills. We finished talking about the Commanders. We segued into the Bills. Yeah, the Bills, I do think there are some advantageous.
I didn't hear the transition.
I was talking about, I was reading contracts for all the Bills. I kind of segued because my brother's coming, so I kind of segued and rushed that, even though I probably shouldn't have rushed that. I kind of did, so that we'd at least have.
Yeah, because I was trying to keep up with what you were saying, and I'm like.
Yeah, I know. That's on me. But The Bills are in an interesting spot. Most of their offensive players are back. They only lose Mac Hollins and Amari Cooper. They pretty much have all their other receivers back next year. And they lose Rasul Douglas at corner. They lose DeMar Hamlin at free safety. Lose Jordan Phillips, their backup defensive tackle. They have everyone else back on defense, though. So, as far as next season goes, the Bills, they're going to lose a lot. They don't have a lot of cap money to spend, but they don't lose a lot in terms of either. For Josh Allen to have the entire offensive line back next year, to have James Cook and Ray Davis back, to have Shakir back, that is huge for Allen. And the Bills get home games against the Chiefs, Bengals, and Ravens next year. So, I mean, that's huge. That's huge for the Bills. Because now that gives the Bills sort of a window. And the Commander...
I forgot to unmute, sorry. Brown saying I'm out of this, and I'm saying I'm kind of missing off the Bills right now because they went at it the Amari Cooper thing. And it turns out the Browns tweaked them because Cooper, he walked in, got injured, didn't play much, and then didn't do much when he was supposed to be the final piece to them beating the Chiefs. And so I'm kind of pissed off. I kind of understand what the Bills are doing because Amari Cooper has just had the two best seasons for any receiver in Cleveland Browns history back-to-back. But at the same time, it's like, why do you give so much up for an aging receiver when he has lost step? And through the first few weeks of the season has shown he had lost step. So they're basically saying, well, because he's playing for us, he's going to regain that step. I don't think it's... And they'll thought that Amari Cooper would a step, that step would just come back just randomly if they played for the Bills. And it didn't. So I'm kind of pissed off at the Bills for thinking that they could turn the time just because they were the Bills. So that pissed me.
Yes. Another thing I've noticed is with the Commanders is they apparently have a lot of interest in Cooper Kupp. So they could get...
Well, Cooper Kupp really hasn't lost that because Cooper fastest receiver.
Yeah.
He was the guy who did everything for you and did it so well that he made you look like a freaking idiot. And then he laughed in your face as he was racking up record numbers. So Cooper Kupp really had a lost stuff. Cooper Kupp has just shown injuries because he's getting old. I mean, it's not like I think it's a different situation as Amari Cooper lost stuff where Cooper Kupp is just to say our training staff is better than the Rams training staff and we'll be able to keep healthy. Okay, that's an interesting evaluation, but it's not unheard of. It's not something you can argue. So my thought there is, can you afford him? His contract's pretty big.
Yep. But yeah, the Commanders have $97 million. Kupp only costs $23 million a year if he doesn't reach So they have the money to actually take on that contract. And we've just got some Bills news from Bills social media. Former Bills head coach Dick Duran has done that was according to 53 minutes ago that came from the Bills social media handle. Dick Duran to 2025.
That's good stuff. Dick Duran was a good head coach. He was a good defensive coordinator. He was so good when he did. He's such a nice guy. I mean, when it comes to legendary coaches that were, I don't get a lot. This John was 107. He ended up dying because he was a guy and what he did. So my condolences go out. He was truly one of the good ones.
Yeah, it's unfortunate he passed away. I feel like this would be a much bigger storyline. Ravens had gotten into the Super Bowl with the Justin Tucker news, or if the Bills had gotten into the Super Bowl with the Dick Duran news. I feel like this would be a much bigger story, maybe even overshadowing the Super Bowl itself to a degree, but doesn't really affect the Chiefs or the Eagles, and because the NBA trade deadline was so huge, coverage this week.
Yeah, because if I would have been as invested in an upcoming game I probably would have gone on a similar rant than what I went on because the game coming up was so good and the emotion that would have been behind it and if anybody would have said anything differently, it would have set me off. But because there is no gate, there is no major emotional impact coming up, it's like we can look at a career that was amazing, that touched so many lives, but we can't get behind it that we did when Jimmy Dolan died because it was no. But I wish that they would have won and was playing as people because we would have had the emotion. We got to do it for this. That just sounds incredibly horrific. But that's kind of the thing we would have been going on. Now, we would have been fired up. They do it or get you on.
Yeah, if the Bills were in the Super Bowl, we would have gone from this one's for John with Pat Bowlen to Elway going, this one's for Plant after Peyton won the Super Bowl, to Allen saying this after hosting the Lombardi Trophy. We would have had that for a timeline.
And we would have, if he would have died before the AFC Championship, would have played well, we could have Jimmy Donlin. Let's do it for them and let's have a good work. We didn't get any of that because the Bills lost, didn't get to the Super Bowl.
They were not ready yet. As I told you the week of the AFC title, they were not ready to take that leap. I've 26, but they said better receivers. But I thought it was a fight across the numbers game. I thought the Chiefs had better weapons, and the Benford injury and the Taylor Rapp injury, if those two had been healthy, I think the outcome may have been different.
I agree. I just look back at this season and I say, I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, dude, we had, at the beginning of the season, we had, even though we didn't know it yet, a storybook kind of AFC championship, and then turns out they're sitting here with the Chiefs again. It's like we don't even get because he was such an amazing man and such an amazing coach. We don't put that in the Super Bowl. I mean, we have so much at the beginning of the season, and this pisses me off as much as anything. We had so much at the beginning of the season when it comes to hope for some of these games, even hope we didn't know was going to happen. And Caitlin Clark, who is Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark are best friends, so, you know.
Yeah, that's why I made the joke about Cooper DeJean getting a pick six and Taylor Swift booth, and then getting pissed at Clark. That's why I don't think Swift is cooler than that in real life, but I just.
I think she's great at marketing. She may be the greatest marketer on the history of music. Not that they would probably say otherwise, but, you know, they're right there and running. But I don't think much Taylor Swift music is wrong. Just hits with songs, but it's a whatever. She's like a cool person. I would love to sit down and watch him run deal with. I mean, cool person. And she besties now with another person I'd love to sit down and watch a game with. So, now, I'm kind of torn because that should be something that's talked about during the Super Bowl. The big draw thing would have been something I think it's probably not because
Chiefs are in.
Yeah, if the Chiefs are in, so guess what? That's who's going to get talked about.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift and Caitlin Clark. I would love to be a boost with them. We'd get sit there. I'd see them drink. We'd have fun. We'd have fun. And I think they'd be two really cool people to hang out with. But, you know, I mean, I wouldn't feel it's like I wouldn't want to be on TV.
Okay, so Andrew is coming on at 12:30. 12:30 is when he's coming on. At man, Andrew. So, I'm talking about my brother, Andrew Ransom, not Kurt, my brother.
I thought you said Kerm was also going to be. I thought you said Kerm was also.
No, I was referring to my brother. My brother's coming on.
We know too many Andrews. We need to set a numbering process for all these Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as the NFL prediction standings for the year goes, I think Kerm finished third on the year, but first place is between I think Emmy Bantle at 204 and I think Matt Bowen 203 are tied for 1 and 2. Runner up to me and Wes 2 years last year are tied. Well, no, they're not tied. Emmy's got 204 on the year and Matt's got 203. But Emmy picked Eagles Bills in the Super Bowl. Matt picked Eagles Chiefs. So basically, Matt has to be opposite team and he has to be right. Otherwise, Emmy wins. If Kerm picks the opposite team as Matt Bowen, let's say Matt Bowen picked Kerm picked the Eagles win. Kerm would finish second. Everyone in the mainstream media for a 5th year in a row, but Emmy Bantle, who finished second, Lisa would be the new Pick'em champion. So our streak as Pick'em champions would end, but our streak against the mainstream media will continue another year. That is the only scenario where Kerm can do at this point. As much as I love Kerm, Emmy's at 204 and Kerm's at 204. He can't reach 204. They're left in the season. It's not feasible for it to happen. And to be fair, Kerm is going to be a staff member to reach 200. Wes reached 200. Last year, I think at least had the entire year. We've had like 8 people reach 200 this year. So high for these NFL pick'em champions. If somebody doesn't reach 200 next year, it's going to be a down year or a failure. You know, shouldn't be, but the bar's been set that high. The bar's been set that high. We've had so many years where people have exceeded expectations. We've had like 5 expectations. I think I had a 181 the year out of 256 in 2021, 2022. West had 187. I had 189, 99, and then I think there's like 8 people with 200 this year. There's at least 5, but there's could be as many as 8 with 200. The bar just keeps getting higher and higher when it comes to NFL predictions on the year. The bar just keeps getting higher and higher. Get to 18 games, this thing is going to get ridiculous. We're going to see somebody with like 210 or 220 games correct once we get to 18 game schedule. It's going to happen. We're going to see 110 or 220 games in a year correct. You don't have to like it, but that's what's going to happen. I'm just telling you now, if the NFL goes to 18 games, you're going to see get 210 or 220 at some point, either this decade or in the 2030s. It's going to happen. You don't have to like it. You don't agree with it, but it's going to happen. Someone's going to get 210 or 220 games correct in an 18-week schedule. There's 18 games for each NFL team. It's going to happen. And you want to add to that, Joey?
It's going to happen. I mean, they start adding on some more wins are going to happen.
Yeah. And Steelers are playing in Ireland. They're going to be hosting a team in Dublin, Ireland next year. I hope we get a Steelers-Browns game in Ireland. I think that would be terrific. We don't in Ireland. I think Steelers-Browns in Ireland would be a lot of fun. Let's look at the Steelers 2025 because they are going to be the host team in Ireland. So one of these home games is going to be in Ireland. I'm looking at the Steelers home games for 2025. They get versus Ravens, versus Bengals, versus Browns, versus Bills, versus Dolphins, versus Packers, versus Vikings, versus Colts, versus Seahawks. I think the Bills game is going to be the Ireland game. Because if you put Josh Allen against the Steelers and you make that a neutral site game in Ireland, that is going to be a massive draw from because you're going to have Steeler fans waving terrible towels. You're going to have Bills Mafia. The turnout's going to be huge. I am thinking, if I had to guess right now, my educated guess is that Bills at Steelers the Ireland game. That would be my educated guess right now. If I had to guess who the Steelers' opponent in Ireland would be. I would guess either the Bills would be my first guess. The Browns would be my second guess. It could be the Packers. And then if it's the Packers, we're going to have a sports ball video in Ireland with urinating Tree and Tom Grossi. I'm all for that if that's what the NFL wants to do. Yeah, so it's perfect.
think that's all I ever see.
Yeah, because they'd have the entire clickbait sports team in Ireland. They would have probably bring Brandon Perna or the Cowboys fan Scooter. They'd probably bring one of them too, and they'd just be streaming the Steelers-Packers game Ireland.
Chris, you remember when I said Larry said, "Oh my butt blower"? Did you imagine on Broad, the strongest beard on the planet? Could you imagine those two doing a live stream, drinking that stuff?
But it's
and then somebody be like the butt blower.
yeah. I can't see anybody else besides the Packers, Browns, or Bills being the Steelers of Ireland. Vikings, yeah, you put them in Ireland. Seahawks, you could put them in Ireland. You're not going to get that big-time draw. Either the Bills, the Browns, or the Packers in Ireland. Otherwise, it's a failure.
I do believe the Browns are Sanders and Browns are Steelers in Ireland. You can almost guarantee it because so much better than the Sanders teammates, and they have a high respect for each other. That might have been that was what Austin Dion to the Browns. So
yeah,
that could be, and if that happens, those drafted Brown Steelers in Ireland, and we get.
I don't see anybody else of the. I've gone through all the Steelers' home opponents: the AFC North, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Packers, the Vikings, the Colts, the Seahawks. I only see 3 teams playing the Steelers in Ireland: the Bills, the Browns, or the Packers. I don't see anybody else playing the Steelers in Ireland because the draw won't be there. The excitement factor and the draw won't be there if it's not one of those 3 teams. And you're in agreement with me. Because it's either going to be the Bills, the Packers, or the Browns. It's not going to. They're not going to put anybody else in Ireland because the draw won't be there. They could put the Vikings there, but the excitement factor won't be there.
What ended up happening is that environmentally, the Ireland, the Republic of Ireland is between 50 and 70 degrees on average every day out of the year. High winds, so on and so forth. So the NFL is going to want to put on a highly entertaining game, but they're going to have to address the factors of no smog because it's a small island. So winds take the smog out into the ocean. So there's very little pollution. So you're not going to get as windy, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to throw the ball as much because of the wind, which are almost constantly blowing.
Ben Brust from ESPN Milwaukee has said that he believes the Steelers will play the Packers on September 28th at Croke Park in Dublin, Ireland, and that sources are telling him that's who the Ireland opponent's going to be. So if Ben Bro is already hearing that, then that means.
Yeah, it's a good matchup. I would just think they want to keep it in the NFC North because the environmental factors and how the NFC North plays the game with the tough defense, the tough running styles.
I don't see anyone else besides the Buffalo Bills, the Cleveland Browns, or the Packers playing the Steelers in Ireland, but it's probably going to be the Packers now that we know. They want to save those games for prime time, though, Joey. That's the thing. They want to have one of those games in prime time this year because they didn't have a regular season meeting in prime time. The only prime time game was the playoff game.
That's true. That is a good point. So, yeah, it's like I don't see the Dolphins. The Dolphins, if you put them in a game, I think that would be their pretty much they're not playing better. element. Brown sure he's playing an element. And, you know, so I actually think those are really the only two people. I think those are the only two teams that really...
I'm not looking at much the elements as much as the quality of the matchup. I'm looking more at the quality of the matchup than the elements.
Well, the quality of the matchup is not going to be good
if it's not...
you don't match up.
And that's what I'm saying. Bills... I don't think it's going to be the Bills for this reason, because the Rooney's going to get up Goodell's ass and say something like, look, the game against the Bills, we're going to sell more tickets at AC Reserve for that game than any other game on the schedule. If you move that game to Ireland, you are giving our fan base and Bills Mafia the middle finger. And he's going to vouch that to Goodell. So that's why I'm beginning to think the Bills is the least likely of the three. It might be the most entertaining of the three in Ireland, but I think it's the least likely to occur because... I think it would be more entertaining than the Browns, but I could see the Browns being the team if it's a division rival.
So I would think the Steelers and Browns may be more viable to the Irish population and get more people into a stadium because they're like, these teams are going to beat the shit out of each other. And they're going to go crazy over that. Remember, rugby is still the biggest sport in Ireland. So you're looking. So rugby belongs to have a decision to make. You know, do you want not only the people and the situation, you want to get the best match for them, not for us. But we're in America, they're in Ireland. You want to draw the most people in Ireland to spread the game to that country. So that's going to be a tough decision. You want to put forth one of the best teams in the NFL and chance that they go the ball and the ball gets carried in the wind way too much? Or do you want to put forth two teams that are going to beat the hell out of each other and still put on a good game because they're right? I mean, I think it's the Packers and Browns that are the Steelers' opponent. One of the two. I mean,
I think the Bills could be the opponent, but Adam Schefter says it's plausible that the Packers are the Steelers' opponent in Ireland. Now, he said that on this January 22nd before the conference title game. So if Schefter's saying that, it's probably the 70, 80% chance it's the Packers.
Yeah, because I will not get upset if it's Packers. But at the same time, it's like the Bills are like, because the Packers are very well balanced. They can make anything work. The Bills, I like the Bills. I think they got a good running game, but they rely on the pass too much at this point. Because remember, this is the first game in Ireland. If it was like the second or third game in Ireland, I wouldn't care. But the first game, you have to appeal to the people. If you don't appeal to the people when you put on a stinker, because of one effect or another, well, there's not going to be a second game.
I think it is the...
Classic, yeah, if you put on a classic, whether it be with the Sanders, Browns, or the Packers, who are a very well-balanced team, who are going to be in the playoffs next year, and they'll get next year, projectedly, against New York, then now you've got the Irish people in, and they're going to want another game, as opposed to the Bills, who Josh Allen may throw a ball, and the wind might...
Well,
right,
it's gonna be the I think it's gonna be the Packers that play the Steelers in Ireland. But here's some news on Nick Chubb. According to Mike Florio, he is heading to free agency, but would prefer to stay with the Browns. So,
in other words, he's testing free Kelce that he's probably going to stay with the Browns on a team-friendly deal. He just wants to see the.
He'd prefer to stay with the Browns, according to Florio, but.
If somebody offers, he would take $4 million from the Browns, but if somebody offers like $10 million, he's like, sorry guys, this is an overwhelming offer. Yeah, so he's like a lot of players. He's like a lot of players in that situation where, I'm going to say here, if somebody offers me freaking $5 million more than anybody else on the market, because if it's like, if somebody offers me 6, I would take 4. If somebody offers me 8 or 9, hold the phone here.
Yeah, the cast of Philadelphia is at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And can you guess who's behind the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Rams head coach Sean McVay. Yeah, Mac and D. Reynolds from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're posing New Orleans as they get off the plane. And right behind them is Rams head coach Sean McVay. He's not even in the photo. He's in the background of the photo. But yeah, Rob McKinney and Caitlin Olsen are married in real life. And they're both at New Orleans for the Eagles game. I don't know if they're filming a Sunny episode, because when the Eagles played the Patriots, they filmed a Sunny episode during 52 in the booth. Like, they were actually in a booth. So they might be filming another Sunny episode here in New Orleans, because I don't think they filmed one when they were in Arizona for Super Bowl 57. Yes, Rob McElhenney, who plays Mac on It's Always Sunny, Caitlin Olsen, who plays Andrew Reynolds on It's Always Sunny, are married in real life. They're both actors on the show Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and they're both married in real life.
I didn't know they were married.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were married.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then Sean McVay is sitting there in the background, just loving the whole.
He doesn't even background, which is what makes it better. Even in the background.
Like he's just completely oblivious to what's going on.
Yes.
And it's like, oh yeah, guess what? You are in an episode of Always Sunny in Philly. It's like, what? When did this happen?
And then Dennis Reynolds comes up and he's like, McVay is in the background. God damn it. And he's pissed off that McVay's in the background. And even though It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is supposed to take place in Philadelphia, it's filmed in Los Angeles. So that may, I don't know if that plays a factor into it as well.
Maybe for me, I look at it and I say, McVay's coaching tree is probably faster than any tree on the planet right now. So having McVay in the background of an episode of Always Sunny, for whatever reason, whether he knows it or not, is just a miraculous thing for the Rams. And, I got to ask you, Chris, outside of McVay, who is the top young offensive coach in the NFL? Coordinators, head coaches, whatever, that you could put in the background of that?
I mean,
who is the one guy that you would say, was it Patrick from the Cardinals? Is it Stefanski? Is it somebody other than McVay? Who is the top young guy?
I would have said Kyle Shanahan a few years ago, but I just feel like Kyle Shanahan would be kind of mopey if he was in the background of an episode. He'd be kind of mopey. I don't know if he would or wouldn't be, but he'd just get that vibe with Shanahan. I would say Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings. I would say Kevin O'Connell, the Vikings. That would be my second choice for what coach.
I like that answer, Chris. I do like it because Kevin O'Connell. I mean, he was a guy I liked as a quarterback when everybody else said he sucked. And I thought he would be a nice head coach. Not a good head coach, just a nice head coach. And he's taken my expectations, he's taken your expectations, he's taken everybody's expectations, and put them down the paper shredder and said, yeah, I'm the man. So I really like that answer because if he would be in an episode of Always Sunny, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and you got all these fans saying they need to have Charlie dress up as the Green Man again because they did that when the Patriots played the Eagles in Super Bowl 52. Charlie Day dressed up as Green Man in the press box. Yeah, Green Man. Green Man, like Green Man's this guy in a green suit. It's very hard to explain, but he's a guy in a green suit who just dances around. And he's got a mask covering up his face.
It's like, you know, and he's running around. It's like, what the fuck is it? Yeah, I'm glad you said it was hard to explain because, yeah, I agree. It's hard to explain.
Yeah, Dan Graziano said Stafford is likely to return to the Rams, but the bigger storyline is you have Jameis Winston, you have somebody in a Browns hat that looks like Baker Mayfield, and a kid eating food together. It's like they're having an eating contest.
And here's the weird and dumb thing. Baker Mayfield got 2 MVP votes.
The guy that looks like Baker Mayfield has a the guy who looks like Baker Mayfield works for Sportsnet. He has an Eagles hoodie on, but he also has a Browns hat on. I think maybe he's wearing Winston's hat while Winston's wearing a chef hat. That could be it too. Winston Browns hat that Winston will wear. Could be it too. He's looking at the Giants. He wants to work with Brian Dable, from what I've heard. He does not care if he's the starter or the backup. He's cool with mentoring the rookie. He's cool with whatever role or capacity he's inserted in, whether he's the week 1 starter or whether he mentors the rookie. He wants to go play with Dable. That's what we're hearing.
I also heard that he may be considering retirement in the next couple of years to join the booth because he loves commentating on everything, and he loves having fun. He's kind of like the Pat McAfee of the NFL Network, where he's like, I just want to commentate, and I was like, oh, I'm at a show game. Let's go. Watch that. If we're Ryan Fitzpatrick, I think better analogy. Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's like, I love commenting on the game. I don't think I'm going to play much. So maybe he might just be doing his mental checklist. Yeah, I wanted to play for Stefanski. I want to play for Dable. And, you know, he might be going through his mental checklist. So,
yep.
And preparing himself for a core.
This is interesting.
You think he'd be good at it?
Yeah. I think he'd be a good commentator, but I'm looking at a tier list. Never experienced a day of pain in franchise history. Who has it moderately good, has it moderately bad. That's the 4th worst one out of 8. Who has it worse? Absolute torment and incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering. The Browns are in the third lowest tier. No, they're in the third. They're in who has it worst. That is the second worst tier. Absolute torment is the second worst. Is incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering, and the Celtics are in that tier, which understand why the Celtics are in the tier for incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering. The Celtics just won the NBA title. They have no business being in the incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering. The Lions, yes. The Sharks, yes. The Celtics have no business being in that category, unless you're just a Celtics hater.
Here's the bottom line. People are saying covering the losing season is torture. You talk to me quite a bit. During the football season, I agree we can't do the rest of the year because of the torture that I go through on a yearly basis. We know the Browns are way I blank half as much as I did this year. That is, and you hear the same thing over and over, but most people.
Here are the teams the Browns ranked ahead of in the tier. The Athletics, the White Sox, the Rockies, the Dallas Mavericks after the Luka trade, the Pistons, the Raiders, the Angels, the Marlins, the Pirates, the Celtics, the Lions, and the Sharks. And outside of the Celtics being in the bottom tier as one of the three worst franchises in sports, which I think they should be in the top tier, which has never experienced a day of pain in franchise history. I think they should be in that tier. I think the Celtics should be in that tier instead of the worst tier. They should be in the best tier. The Celtics.
You had 6 Hall of Famers on your team at one time. You don't get to be that low in the tier. Okay? I can live at Jerry Sheeting as the top in that team, and I remember Jerry. Okay, I remember Jerry Sheeting.
Yeah, they put the Orioles as.
If you don't remember Jerry Sheeting, you not know into the Bible.
Here's who went here: the Baltimore Orioles, the Chicago Blackhawks, who are a great historic franchise, but NHL for a few years. The Oilers, the Panthers, the Packers, Astros, Chiefs, Dodgers, Lakers, Mets, Eagles, Lightning, and Vegas Golden Knights. I would move Vegas down to the who has it tier, the second tier, and I would move the Celtics into the first tier where Vegas is currently ranked. Because
Andrew Berry has fucked it up, and the people that were there before him all fucked up since 1999, since Al Lerner. I mean, Al Lerner would do anything for him. Since then, it has been nothing but torment.
So in addition to the teams that were in the who has it worst tier, the third rounds include the Brooklyn Nets, the Buffalo Sabres, the Charlotte Hornets, the Jaguars, the Jets, the Steelers, San Francisco Giants, and the Mariners. Out of that tier, I would put them in the moderately bad tier because they haven't had success recently, but they still won 3 series titles in 5 years. I think that counts. And I would move them out of the who has it worst tier and put them in the mirror. Because of the recent playoff game with Lawrence, outside of that, it has been a failure for the Jaguars the last 5 years, and they've had a bunch of bad seasons. They were the worst team in the 2010s decades as far as overall record goes. Worse than the Browns, and the Browns went 0 in a year. So in Myles Garrett's rookie season.
That's
Yeah, because if you look at what the Jaguars did 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, they were horrible those years. When Blake Bortles, they were horrible. And then they had that one the AFC title. Then they blew up the team. And then they got a playoff win with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. We're not. Yeah.
Mark Brunell, they ended up getting him. Unfortunately, he was a legend. He was amazing, but they ended up getting him with like 5 years left in his time.
They put the Cleveland Guardians in the no pain tier. Teams that have endured no pain. Fan bases that have endured teams and fan bases that have endured no pain. The Bengals, no pain. The Guardians, no pain. The Chargers, no pain. I disagree with the Chargers on that. I would put the Chargers in moderately good or moderately bad.
Chargers have pain and the Bengals have pain.
Yes.
The Guardians, I can agree with no pain because they have been a team in baseball over the last 20 years. They haven't given pain. They haven't given misery.
I would disagree with that. 2016 World Series, I would disagree with that. But outside of that game and the 2007 ALCS, I mean, it's been relatively out of those two games.
You also have to realize the 1993, I think, right before the lockout.
94, right before the strike.
May have been the greatest team ever assembled in baseball history, but it got completely kibosh and forgot. I mean, you look back at that lineup, it was the most amazing lineup I've ever seen, and they were just actually Cleveland was in Cleveland would have gotten the wild card, but Cleveland was in second place in the division at that. The White Sox led the division by 1 game, but it would have been Yankees as the 1 seed, White Sox as the 2, Rangers as the 3, and the Cleveland Indians as the 4 seed against the Yankees. That would have been the White Sox that year had an amazing pitching staff, and Frank Thomas was having an MVP that year. So an amazing pitching staff and an MVP does help with the hitting. I think they had one person hitting 294. Their lineup, almost everybody else was hitting 300. They were demolished team. Home run, smash it. They didn't have the pitching you wanted, but their overall, their lineup 1 through 9 was.
Yeah.
I mean.
And the Expos had the best record that year. A lot of people argue the Expos would have won the World Series that year with Pedro Martinez. They were 74-40. They had the best record in the league at the time. The Reds were.
The Expos were amazing that year. I can't argue that when they say the Expos would have won. So I would have said the Expos and Indians in an American League Championship game. Oh my God, that would have been a dream.
It would have been a World Series game, not an American League Championship game. Cleveland would have had to beat the Yankees to get to the ALCS. No, I pivoted from the American to the National League because I wanted to go through the top 4 in the National League. But the Expos were 1, Reds were 2, Dodgers were 3, and Braves were 4 in the 94 year of the lockout. But I think we're in agreement. Whoever wins that Braves-Expos series wins the NL pennant. And whoever wins Yankees-Indians probably beats the White Sox in the ALCS. That's probably what ends up happening.
Looking at that is remembering that season, even if all my details aren't correct, if I would have looked back and I said the 2 best teams, they would have been the Expos and Indians, and I would have looked at that and I would have said that would have been the greatest World Series matchup of my lifetime. Even today, that would have been the greatest matchup you would have seen. Because those two teams, they were stacked. And I think the X factor would have been the pitching staff. Because I don't think either pitching staff was outstanding, but both lineups were absolutely two of the greatest ever. And I would say the Indians lineup was the greatest lineup ever assembled. So the Expos, who had probably the greatest power of any team ever assembled, that would have been, I'm looking at a World Series that would have been like every game was 5-8 or 10-12 or something absurd.
Yep.
I mean, those two teams are so good that it would have destroyed anything we'd ever seen before. And that is so.
Incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering features three teams. That's the worst tier. The Celtics, the Lions, and the San Jose Sharks. So the Lions and the San Jose Sharks, incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering. Yeah, the Lions did have incomprehensible levels of pain and suffering for many years, but then they hired Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. That has changed in due time.
The only reason Boston went through any downturn, the Celtics, I think, because Len Bias died before he ever played a game because of a heart condition, but a heart condition caused by snorting cocaine and overdosing. And Reggie Lewis, who had a heart condition and died on a court while working out. Okay? Two generational players, the Celtics, Red Auerbach drafted two generational players that were just, Reggie Lewis was just starting to enter his prime, and Len Bias, who was considered the best generational prospect of his time, died. That's why. Okay? So, you cannot knock Boston for having a long rebuild when they never had to have one as tragedy also. So you can't.
Well, they did technically have a rebuild after they traded Garnett and Pierce to the Brooklyn Nets. They did technically did have a rebuild, but it was a mini rebuild. It was not seen as like a long.
That was not as long or as painful as, losing.
Because they got Jaylen Brown in 2016, and they got Tatum in 2017, and after that, I think they were back in the 2019. I think they made the 2019 Eastern Conference Finals as a young team, despite losing to the Cavs. So their rebuild was very short in terms of.
Well, in that one, it was very short, but in the 90s, it was like Larry Bird retired, Len Bias died, Reggie Lewis died, Robert Parrish and Kevin McHale. McHale retired. Harris moved on to Charlotte, and then moved on to the Bulls, won the Cup title, and was managed to left there until, I think, 1999. So they had 7 or 8 years when they were rebuilding. It's like, those two deaths really just destroyed what Red Auerbach was building, because he was building for the future of the Celtics. They never should have had that downturn until, as you said, 2007, 2008, 2010. They should have never had that. But life has, this is what I always say, life has other plans. Sometimes you have to switch it up. Unfortunately, Red died, so he retired, and then he died before he could see the resurrection, which is strange. But he built the empire that the Celtics are. I mean, he even tricked the entire NBA to make sure he could get Larry Bird. I mean, he was a freaking genius to, as far as basketball goes, to the utmost level. You cannot. So I feel sorry that Red was not there to see that championship. I I feel bad that he was not there to do what needed to be done. But at the same time, the situation, you cannot say the Celtics are in that bad tier of torture unless you say, yeah, their players were dying. One from a heart condition and one from cocaine.
Yep. But some of the other teams that were ranked way ahead of the Celtics, who has it better? Atlanta Hawks are ranked in the who has it better tier. I do not agree with that. Avalanche cat.
Atlanta and the Heat, a lot of people don't understand. They were right up there with some of the best teams in the NBA. Dominic Wilson, Bud Webb, Lucy Blaylock. Those guys were, Blaylock was 89, but he came in right at the end. Were Kevin Willis, which Dominic still says Kevin Willis needs to shut his damn mouth. Because he decided to taunt Larry Bird one day when they were winning. Larry Bird ended up throwing like 12 straight shots on him. It was just stupid. But Dominic and the Hawks back in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, those guys were badasses. And they actually had one of the greatest duels in the history of the NBA playoffs between Larry Bird and Dominic Wilson. I mean, it was, I've seen the game, so I can say this. Those guys were both refused to lose. And it was a spectacular performance by both guys. One of the greatest games I've ever seen, just simply because the two superstars just didn't want to lose. And so the Hawks were nothing to believe that back in the day. So much to be desired, maybe because of recent failures, including the trade with Cavs here 2 days ago. I don't know if that was taken into consideration. But at the same time, man, if you look, the only thing I would say that led them to that was trading Dominic Wilson to the Clippers for Danny Manning. No disrespect to Danny Manning. I love Danny Manning. But Dominic, man, you traded one of the greatest players of that generation to the freaking Clippers, who at that time were a laughing stock. The hell is wrong with you?
Well, I think they just finished filming the final scene in Happy Gilmore 2 because there's a leaked video of Christopher McDonald, the actor that plays Shooter McGavin, grabbing the gold jacket, and he's just running towards the camera. Nobody's trying to tackle him like in the first one. Okay, my brother's here. That's perfect. So, yeah. So, and hey, Andrew, yeah. So,
Hey, morning, Chris. How's it going?
my afternoon's going great, Andrew. We were just talking about, I think
Sorry,
Chris.
afternoon over there.
Yeah,
morning
it's
over here
only
right now.
afternoon over there, but I think the Shooter McGavin Twitter parody account may have leaked the final scene from Happy Gilmore 2, because Shooter McGavin, played by Christopher McDonald, he grabs a gold jacket and he just runs down the street with it, and nobody tries to tackle him like in the original one. Mr. Larson tried to elbow Shooter McGavin to get Happy his jacket. So we don't know if
When he
he wins
says,
it outright or if he just steals the jacket at the end as a gag.
I bet he gets busted. What does he say? I'll see you in the locker room after.
No,
And he's got
it's
the shirt
but
on.
there's a Chiefs fan chasing Shooter McGavin in the scene for Happy Gilmore too. There is a Chiefs fan actually chasing Shooter McGavin in this one.
Is Travis Kelce in the movie?
Yes, he is going to be making a cameo in this, as is Dan Patrick.
Nice.
So that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't want to spoil the movie for people who actually want to watch that on Netflix when it comes out later this year. That's all we're going to say on that. But yeah, I mean, the Super Bowl's coming up, Andrew. I mean, we got to bring some Chiefs energy to this show, because on Wednesday, when I was recording with Orrin and Sean, they kept singing the Fly Eagles Fly song. And I'm sure you would not have been cool with that if somebody had decided to sing that while you came on today.
I didn't know that the teams had a song.
Yeah.
But, that's. Why don't you sing the song, Chris?
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. I can't do it. I'm not really an Eagles fan, so I'm not going to continue singing the song. I am going to stop, Joey.
That song sucks.
I would say, Andrew, I've heard a lot about you over the years. It's a pleasure to finally talk with you. Chris has been very complimentary of you, so I do value what you had to say here, and I am glad to finally be talking.
Is Joey talking to me?
Yeah, that's
Sorry, I
Joey
can't hear
talking
it.
to you. That's Joey talking to
hey,
you.
Joey. Nice to be talking with you, man. How are you? I just can't hear you that well, but
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm trying to put the iPad closer to the computer to try to improve the audio experience.
It's all good.
I guess the best thing we can say right now, we're going to talk to you, and we're going to look at this and say, what do you expect of the Chiefs offense? Because we're all looking at health, and we're all saying this may be the last chance together to get this done. So, what do you think we expect out of those two guys?
The last game for this offense, you mean in terms of before people are traded, or with Coach Reed? Is that what Joey asked, Chris?
Yes. Basically, this is going to be the last game with Kelce, Coach Reed. I think Reed comes back for one more year. I think he already confirmed it during Super Bowl week, but I could be wrong on that, Joey and Andrew.
Is Kelce done after this?
Yeah, we supposed last year that Kelce was going to retire, but since he wanted to come back for a repeat. So we're going into this saying this is their last goal. This is their last shot together as a team. And as a cohesive unit, what do you say about that? What do you expect?
I expect them to be the same Chiefs offense that I always see, which for me, it's like they don't really do anything until they have to. You know what I mean? Like they'll just come in really hot, guns a blazing, and then the Philly defense will shut them down in the first half, and then they'll have to score like 20 points in the second half. I feel like that's almost like this strange strategy that they have where they just don't – they need that they need to be behind a little bit so that they can feel like they need to come back, because otherwise they'll just,
Yeah, and I think they're going to win 29-26.
We're looking at a guy in Kareem Hunt.
Hunt. I love him.
And this is full circle for him because he was great initially, was on the out, went to the Browns, he ended up constantly retirement, going back to his best friend, ended up being one of the leaders in the league in touchdowns, going to the Chiefs, doing it again. Do you expect him to play a significant role, maybe even get a touchdown or two in this game to make it come full circle? That
Yeah.
I am a Chief and I'm here.
Chiefs what?
He's like, I am a Chief 100% and I am here. I'm going to get these touchdowns. I'm going to make sure they win. You expect
Oh. Well, didn't he have a really great AFC Championship game?
Yeah. And
So, yeah, I think so.
sim matchup football, it's whatifsports.com. We did a simulation of the Super Bowl. The Chiefs won 20-10 over the Eagles, and Kareem Hunt was the MVP of the Super Bowl. He had 80 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, and he also had 25 receiving yards and 2 receptions to give him 105 for the day. Saquon Barkley got held to 51 rushing yards on 17 carries, and I just think that's too good to be true. Jalen Hurts went 8 for 17 the entire Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, 21 for 30, 259 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. Well, if this scenario happens, Kareem Hunt will win Super Bowl MVP, because if Mahomes throws 0 touchdowns and the Chiefs win, I think you have to give it to Kareem Hunt at that point, Joey, because that's, Andrew, maybe I'm wrong, but I think you have to give Hunt the MVP at that point, because if he has 105 total yards, 80 rushing, 25 receiving, and a touchdown, and that's the only touchdown in a 20-10 victory, with the Chiefs getting a touchdown on Kareem Hunt, and then the Chiefs. So the Chiefs got 1, 2, 3 field goals, 4 field goals, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion. So in this situation, I think Hunt would be the MVP if that's the only touchdown throughout the entire duration of the game in this situation. But it's just a very weird result for as far as the simulation goes. That's just a very weird result.
If I could pick one person, though, for the Chiefs, it would be Hollywood Brown.
Hollywood Brown, I like that. I mean, he missed most of the year. He came back. I'm thinking it might be Hopkins. Could be Hopkins. It's probably going to be Mahomes, but
we did see Odell Beckham come in for the Rams and before ripping up his knee again. Just rip things up. So, I mean, Hollywood Brown would not be out of question. I mean, we've got precedent for it.
agreed.
It's not going to be Travis Kelce because of how they cover him now.
Yeah, I agree.
They do this thing, right? Don't they double cover him all the time?
Yeah, and the Eagles have really good safeties too, not just starters, but backups that are quality safeties as well that be starting on most teams. So I agree it's not going to be Kelce as much as I'd like it to be him.
Well, here's the question, though. In the red zone, because the safeties are going to be up a little bit, they're going to have to rely on the outside linebacker to do a lot of that coverage. Would you expect Kelce to get a touchdown if the Chiefs get on like the 4 or 5 yard line a couple times? Would you expect that to happen based on the linebackers having to cover the tight end?
I think Andrew's trying to speak, but I don't know if there's something wrong with the audio or.
Oh,
if he just
sorry. No,
no.
I was muted. Sorry.
No. Okay.
I think Chad Henney's going to score 40 points. I don't know. Is Henney still there or no?
No, they have Carson Wentz. He's the backup now.
What happened to Henney? Well, to answer Joey's question, I still think anything is possible.
Anything is possible. as far as the MVPs go. You're right. You can't overlook or dismiss any scenario because anything could happen. It's the biggest game of the year. And I feel like, Eagles, as long as they keep drafting well and they keep Hurts and Barkley to keep their core, they're gonna
just went a 7-5-40, against you, and you did nothing. The trauma is real.
Yeah, because I think Chad Henne beat both the Jaguars and the Browns when they were in the playoffs against the Chiefs at Arrowhead. That's why the trauma is so real for you, because not only did he traumatize your Browns, he traumatized your city, Jacksonville. And that's why the trauma is so real for you. But it's not real for Chiefs fans, but it's real for you, Joey. I can empathize with you in that respect. What is I don't know. I feel like the Bills, the Steelers
the
were
Chiefs
playing.
Going to cheat?
No, I don't think the Chiefs are going to cheat. I think they're going to win outright, but they might get some calls their way. Ron Torbert, who called the AFC Championship that we watched in Las Vegas against the Bengals, is calling the Super Bowl. So that is something to keep an eye on. He's reffing the Super Bowl. What did you think of the plays in the AFC Championship game? The Allen fourth down play and the I thought
great game
was a great game. You're right.
Yeah, I'm not a Bills fan, but I do like Josh Allen a lot. I gotta run out for a second. I'm gonna leave my stream on. I'll be right back. Okay.
All right. So Andrew's taking a brief recess, and we will be back for part 2 of that interview when he gets back.
Okay. But Chris, I want to say, we can reiterate it when Andrew gets back. I was one of the few people that thought that the calls were overlooked.
I agree.
I thought people, but it's like.
The worthy catch was a catch, but a lot of people are saying that it wasn't a catch. The ball hit the ground. They're trying to push a narrative, and I frankly don't see it. And the Allen play could have gone either way, honestly. Let's be real. The Josh Allen fourth down could have gone either way. Let's be real.
And the helmet to helmet on Mahomes, that was a helmet to helmet. I watched it. I watched it for 3 times. The helmet to helmet didn't happen. I mean, I'm sorry, guys.
And there were like 12 holding penalties that the Bills got away with in the game. There was this person on Twitter that posted a montage of all the holding penalties the Bills did not get called for in the AFC Championship. And there were like 12 clips. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say they got away with those plays, but that person cited their sources and showed definitive proof.
I'm not going to defend the Chiefs on an overall level, but if you really look at it from a game-to-game level, that last game where everybody throwing tantrums was not wholly appreciated. Sorry. It wasn't. And I don't know what else to tell you. But I didn't like a couple of the calls that were made during the clutch play. But overall, during the game, it was good. It was efficient, incredibly well. It was fair. So, I'll say this. If anybody says otherwise, then I don't like it.
Yep. Because I think next year the Bills will get the 1 seed, but I think the Bengals will knock them out of the playoffs. Because the Bills, they have such Their three toughest games are at Steelers, at Browns, and at Texans. If Myles Garrett gets traded and the Steelers move on from Russell Wilson, which it sounds like, they could potentially win both those AFC North games on the road as long as they're healthy. They could, realistically. And really, they could end up with the 1 seed next year. But if they play a team like the Bengals, maybe the Bengals beat the Bills in Buffalo again. And that's how their season ends. But I do think Allen's going to get one I'm going to say 26-27. That'll be the year Allen gets his first. And the Bills will be the 1 seed. Chiefs will be the 2 seed. And it'll be they'll get the Chiefs will get back to an AFC. I'm going to say Andy Reid retires after next season, and the Chiefs will still find a way to get back to the AFC title, but they'll lose the Bills. That's what I think will happen. And I think somebody will come in and take over for Kansas City. And right now, my guess is Kyle Shanahan, but somebody will end up going to Kansas City, or they'll end up hiring one of the NFC West coaches, Shanahan or McVay. They'll end up poaching one of them away from the NFC West, and they'll just reload. That's what I think will end up happening with the Chiefs after Andy Reid retires. The Chiefs will probably poach one of the coaches away from that division. And I don't think they'll poach McVay away. I think they'll end up settling on Shanahan. And I think Shanahan will end up playing his way out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Andy Reid could very easily coach another 5 years, but he could also end up retiring after next year. It's really hard to say what happens with him, but he's going to be back for next season. That I can confirm with Reid being back for next season. But yeah, as far as you said you wanted to talk some smack about the bird teams. What exactly did you have in mind? I think your microphone's muted again, Andrew. I don't know. Yeah, I can't hear it.
Another amazing year of Cardinals. Would he be in the Chiefs department?
I think they would pick someone more experienced, but I definitely think he would get multiple interviews. I don't think he'd be the guy they'd pick, but I think he would get multiple interviews with the team. But I think he'd be a finalist, but I don't think he'd be the guy they'd pick, if that's fair.
I was just thinking of his pedigree. It's like, you got a guy that has such a pedigree like he does over the last 5-10 years, and he's so young. I'm like, hey, at least gotta give him a look.
I agree. But I think the Chiefs would go with someone more experienced once Andy Reid leaves. I think they're going to try to get either Shanahan or McVay and bring them to Kansas City. I think that's what they'll end up doing. And Andrew is writing something here. I don't know if this is related to the bird teams, because he does not like the bird teams. He's nodding his head, so this is going to be related to the bird teams. Does not like any of the bird teams in the NFL. It does not like the Cardinals. Does not like the Falcons. Does not like the Seahawks. Does not like the Eagles. Does not like the Ravens. So, yeah. He does not like any of the bird teams. All bird teams suck. All bird teams suck. Yeah, that's funny. Because I remember Andrew and I joking about that on the trip to Boston last year when we scouted Macklin Celebrini when he was at Boston U before he got drafted by the San Jose Sharks. But yeah, all the bird teams suck. All right. Those are facts. What else do you want to discuss as far as the Super Bowl goes? Who is your MVP, Andrew?
I want to make sure you can hear me.
I can hear you perfectly. All right. Let's give Andrew a second to adjust the AirPods, make sure the quality's good and he can hear everything smoothly. Who would be your Super Bowl MVP? If you still need a few more seconds to think it over, that's fine. Can get adjusted to the audio with the AirPods too. That's cool. Now I could hear Andrew fine a few seconds ago. Now the audio's, I don't know what's going on with the audio. Okay, because I can't hear Andrew now. I heard him a few seconds ago. I'm going to try turning the volume up. All right. Okay.
How's that?
That's better. I can hear you now.
Nice. Okay. I think it's going to be. I don't know. It'd be nice for a wide receiver to get it. It'd be nice for Pacheco or Hunt to get it too. It'd be nice for Chris Jones to get it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Kelsey, I don't think he'll get it, but if he gets it and he retires after, that'd be a nice send-off. I don't think he'll get it, but
He's not going to get it, but I do think he's going to get the trophy and then call people jabronis when he.
that would be funny.
Yeah, maybe he says something about Burrowhead.
What is your bold prediction, Joey? You know, a player in a losing team has never gotten the Super Bowl MVP, but we've seen it in other sports. We've seen the Stanley.
Oh, is that possible?
It's happened in other sports. In the Stanley Cup 2 times, John Sebastian Jaguar and Connor McDavid were on the losing team in the Stanley Cup. They won the Conn Smythe MVP despite not winning the Stanley Cup. And I think it
That's
happened
crazy.
in the NBA Finals once too when Larry Bird lost to Magic. I think somebody on the losing team in the NBA Finals won NBA Finals MVP. I don't remember exactly who. May have been Bird.
So that's the only Bird that I like. If you get my meaning, Chris.
Yes. Larry Bird. But Bird's a player. He's not a Bird team or a Bird entity. He's a player.
That's right.
MVP of the finals in 84 and 86. He did not win in 81 because despite averaging 15 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, Cedric Maxwell won the MVP because Bird kind of pissed off the press. This was the early days of the press on that to vote on the MVP starting in 1979. So in 1981, this was early days, so they were addictive. And when Bird had that difficult interview, because Cedric Maxwell averaged 19 points a game, they gave it to him because he had more points per game, despite the fact that Larry Bird averaged 15 points, 15 rebounds.
Yeah, I'm just looking to see if there was a player who got the NBA Finals MVP that did not win it. I know it's happened in the NHL. It may have happened in the World Series instead of
I don't think
NBA.
it'll happen in the NFL.
I don't think it will happen in the NFL either.
It would be nice. You know what would be nice, Chris, is if
You guys are both self right there. It was not something that was planned, but was what it was.
Yeah.
the Eagles, if they lose, they should have to change their name to the Philadelphia Birds.
I agree. That'd be funny. Yeah, because I don't think it was. Yeah, I don't think it was I don't think the person on the losing team wanted.
I don't know if you listen to our podcast on the greatest players of all time, Bird was my number 2 behind Jordan. And it was pretty controversial because I had LeBron like a 7. So maybe that was indication of people not liking me with basketball.
Chris, maybe you can answer. Has a member of a Bird team ever won the MVP?
Has a member of the Bird team ever won MVP? I believe Nick Foles won Super Bowl MVP when the Eagles won Super Bowl 52. I believe the Seahawks.
The Eagles ever won a Super Bowl?
They beat my Patriots in Super Bowl 52. It was a very high scoring game. They filmed an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia in that Super Bowl. And yeah, the cast of Sunny is at this Super Bowl in New Orleans.
I bet Bradley Cooper will also be there because he's from Philly.
Yep, but McVay was in the background. So they had Rob McHill, Caitlin Olsen and her husband were taking a photo with some fans, and Sean McVay was in the background, and he was completely oblivious that those two were in the background, Andrew. It was pretty funny. McVay was completely oblivious to that. He didn't even know he was in the background.
When I worked at the tailgate party as a bartender for what number Super Bowl was in LA at the SoFi Stadium?
That was the Rams-Bengals Super Bowl in
Rams-Bengals. So I was working outside the stadium, and then I snuck in to the Super Bowl for the halftime show to see Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and it was amazing. And I was looking around, and I was in like the upper, seats, and it was crazy because I was looking at the seats, and there were so many celebrities where I couldn't believe it that they were all just there. Like I saw Draymond Green, I saw Will Ferrell, I saw a bunch of TV actors that I don't know their names, but it was crazy. It was crazy to sneak into the Super Bowl.
That's amazing, though. That is an amazing story. And Super Bowl 61 is going to be in LA. 60 is going to be in San Francisco next year. But
really?
Yeah, New Orleans is this year, and then next year is going to go to San Francisco, and then it's going to go back to LA for 61 in 2027. So 26 and 2027, those Super Bowls are both going to be in the state of California.
Interesting. Is it going to be because where is the
Levi Stadium where the 49ers played? That's where the Super Bowl 60 is going to be at, and 61 is going to be at SoFi again.
I've been to Levi Stadium too. It's a nice stadium.
Yeah.
There's a big there's a big statue of Joe Montana there.
Yeah, but SoFi is going to get one every 5 years. And if they don't get one every 5 years with all these new stadiums coming in, they'll get one every 6 or 7 years because there's going to be a bunch of indoor stadiums. The Browns are getting one, the Jaguars, the Titans, the Bears are getting one. Commanders are actually in the process of building one. The Eagles might put a roof over Lincoln Financial Field. If the Chiefs leave Missouri to go to the Kansas side of Kansas, because state of Kansas is willing to fund a new Chiefs stadium that's indoor, that's state-of-the-art, that's climate-controlled, but the Chiefs would have to leave Arrowhead and go to the Kansas side of Kansas. And, Clark Hunt's going to use this as leverage if the Chiefs fans in Missouri don't pay for a renovation at Arrowhead. He's going to. We both know that's the direction this is going to go in, unfortunately, but that's the business sometimes.
Interesting. As long as the Bird team shouldn't be allowed to do that, in my opinion, because they're not worth spending money on a new stadium for.
I mean, the Cardinals play in a nice stadium. So do the Falcons. I mean, the Falcons.
Yeah, but they're Bird teams, Chris. They're less. They are less than normal football teams.
So the Ravens have an outdoor stadium. They're not going to get a Super Bowl.
Ooh.
And the Eagles also an outdoor stadium. The Falcons, Cardinals, Seahawks. That would be fun. I do think a Super Bowl in Seattle would be fun with the weather conditions there. It's never going to happen, but it would be fun, I think.
Oh yeah. Do you know any more about this Ireland game next year?
We believe the Steelers are going to end up playing the Green Bay Packers. I've already looked at the Steelers 2025 schedule. There's only 3 opponents on that entire schedule that are compelling enough to put in Ireland. The Green Bay Packers, the Buffalo Bills with Bills Mafia, because the Bills are supposed to come to Pittsburgh next year. But I would think the Roonies are telling Goodell, look, keep that game in Pittsburgh. Do not move that game to Ireland. They are probably hounding Goodell over that right now as we speak. I don't think that game is going to get moved to Ireland, but the crowd turnout would be amazing if that was the game they put in Ireland. But I think it's going to be the Packers and Steelers. That's going to be the game they put in Ireland.
What if they made all of the bird teams go play in Japan for one season? I think that'd be good.
Because of the way that because like I said, in college, this is before you got here, I did an in-depth on Ireland for paper, and between the environment and the people themselves, this is your first foray into Ireland. You don't want to just throw 2 teams over there, because the Irish people may say, we don't want you anymore.
That's true.
Put something together that they want. And the only 2 teams that could potentially give them that are the Browns and the Packers against the Steelers, because they're all teams that can hit hard. They're all teams that can do some different things that the Irish people want. And maybe after this, you can expand a little bit, but in the initial...
I feel like the Bills would market better than the Browns. With all due respect to your Browns, Joey, I think the Bills would market better than the Browns, but I do consider the Browns the best option for a division rival. For a division rival in Ireland, I think they're the best option.
I'm just thinking in terms of the AFC North and the thought process behind their style of play is more in depth with, because Ireland is still a rugby.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a rugby country. Style would appeal to the Irish people more. And maybe this isn't good. What 2 years from now? But in that first outing, you have to make the Irish people think we want them back. And it's just marketing. It's marketing. Make the Irish people want you to come back every single year. And first impressions are important. That's why I say Packers or Browns. Because the Packers can do it, Browns can do it. But the Browns can only do it if they draft a quarterback that can make it happen.
That's why I think the NFL is probably going to play it safe and go with the Packers, because they want to keep the division rivalry games. They love to put the interconference games outside the United States, whereas the division rivalries, they want to keep those in-house.
I think they also take a look at the international markets for like certain teams. For I don't know why, I don't think anybody knows why, but certain teams are like very famous outside of the United States, like the Steelers are, because of the Immaculate Reception and the 70s, the dynasty, the first big Steelers dynasty, that like somehow a lot of people all over the world caught wind of that and saw it. And so like there are Steelers bars in Italy and Germany and France and in South America, which is like out here there's Steelers bars. It's a weird thing. And Packers are another one of those teams that have sort of an international, aura, patina, whatever about them.
You may be correct as to why this is going on, and why the Browns, Steelers, and Packers are the 3 teams most likely to have it, is because internationally, those 3 teams have it also.
It's going to be the Packers, I think. I'm just reading something here on Google. NFL fans in Ireland. The league's popularity in Irish grew significantly since Dan Whalen became the first Irishman to play in the NFL, and he was the Packers' starting punter in 2023. So I think we're
Interesting.
getting Packers Steelers. I think that's the giveaway.
That's the giveaway. Yeah. Chris, when is that game? I might look into trying to go.
I know this is not on Google. This is not on Google. This is on the Brave browser search engine that I got this information. So Brave, thank you for
I use
leaving.
Brave. Shout
Yeah.
out to Brave. Brave is great.
Brave is great, especially if something in Google Chrome isn't loading. I can just load it in Brave and I do not have the drawbacks. And then I have DuckDuckGo as a third option if I need to use it, which I don't in this
Nice.
situation.
And
Nice.
this is all relevant. I mean, all of us, I think, believe the Packers are going to get that game.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you have to perform a discussion about
Why I think the Bills could get it instead, or why you think the Browns could get it instead of the Packers. That's the purpose of the discussion.
there has to be a discussion that's made.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if we none of us believe it.
Yeah. We're just making the case for a few other cities, but I don't think anyone outside of those three would play the Steelers in Ireland. Because the quality matchup wouldn't be good. If it was the Steelers and the Seahawks or the Steelers and the Vikings, the quality of the matchup, I think, would be less than what the fans were hoping for from an experience standpoint. And that's not good for Ireland. Like the first game in Germany was Chiefs-Dolphins. I think it was Buccaneers-Seahawks, but the first game in Berlin or Munich, Germany, I don't know. They had a Chiefs-Dolphins game in Germany, I think. And that was really popular. I think no, the first year was Buccaneers Seahawks with Tom Brady, and the next year they had Chiefs Dolphins. But those two games in Germany, they built the foundation for we can put whatever crap we want on Germany, but they had to come out with a bang for those first 2 years in Germany.
Look at that for what it is. It's like you had Tom Brady and his wife was the best model in the last 40 years out of Europe. So you're looking at a big popularity spike because over there, Tom Brady was Gisele Bundchen's wife. Basically, he was her wife.
He was her wife.
He was nothing over there. You know, he was arm candy. You know, she was the one. So why would you not put, you know, those two on spotlight over there to make your great first impression? I mean, that's a great marketing move.
Yeah,
I heard that the Chiefs, after they played in Germany, weren't allowed back because Andy Reid ate all the sausages after the game. There were no more German sausages to eat for several years, so the Chiefs aren't allowed back. All right, I gotta run, Chris, but I just want to say I question for you and Joey, the two worst bird teams in the NFL.
It was a pleasure to finally be able to talk with you. I hope you come on again.
Thanks, Joey.
You were amazing. Thank
you.
Thanks
Two
for having
worst
me.
bird teams. I've got the Eagles in that conversation because they beat the Patriots in Super Bowl 52 with a backup quarterback. That was super embarrassing. I give Nick Foles all the credit in the world, but that still was an embarrassing loss. So the Eagles would be one of my two worst bird teams. The other, this is hard because I do like what Lamar Jackson's doing with the Ravens.
It's a hard question.
I do like what Lamar's doing with the Ravens, but I don't want to show any bias. I don't like it. Atlanta blowing the lead they blew against the Patriots, blowing a 28-3 lead was hilarious and bad in its own right. Cardinals only got to one Super Bowl. They lost the Steelers. Everybody knew they were going to lose the Steelers. They at least made the game competitive. So I would argue the Cardinals, and I would argue the Cardinals are the lesser of the four evils. So for me, I guess I'll go with the Falcons and the Eagles because
the Cardinals have three things going for them I like. The defensive line back in the 90s, which was amazing.
You forgot Aeneas Williams was their corner on that team back in the day, too. Aeneas Williams. and they had the Jerry Maguire movie in '96. So
those guys were great. I just remember basically the defense. Okay, let's just go with the defense. In the '90s, Kurt Warner, because
That's right.
Warner is still somebody who is amazing in my eyes, not only as a player, but what he overcame twice in his career. What he overcame twice, and now he breaks down film of quarterbacks both in NFL and college, on a YouTube channel, which I love because
really?
he is so in depth with it. And then Drew Petsick, who I think is one of the best offensive minds over the last 2 or 3 years, now offensive coordinator of the Cardinals.
Yeah, well, there's enough reasons to exclude the Cardinals from the worst bird team conversation. They're the first team you'd rule out. For me, the way the Ravens and Cardinals have played as of late, I'm ruling them out. Seahawks won a Super Bowl, and Atlanta blew a 28-3 lead to the Patriots. So the two worst bird teams, in my opinion, as a fan of the game, are the Eagles and the Falcons. But that's just my 2 cents on the situation. Joey, since he's a Browns fan, he's going to say the Ravens are the worst of the bird teams. I already know that.
Because I'm gonna keep it real. As far as the Ravens go, they're older brother. They're older brother, which means I can punch them in the mouth, but nobody else can. So they're not the worst bird team, because if that is, those are fighting words, because that's family. Whether anybody likes it or not, even if the other fans like it or not, it's just not a thing.
All right.
Lamar Jackson's great. I think he's great.
I would have to look at the Falcons big time on that, because not only have they've had moments, bad moon rising, Andre Rising. We don't want to go there too far, but also mainly because Andre Rison was so bad that Art Modell filed for bankruptcy, or almost filed for bankruptcy after the thing, to sign him, which was absolutely pathetic. But Andre Rison basically forced Art Modell to, screw up everything in the NFL circles, which is why Art Modell has a terrible reputation overall among NFL circles. But he was the Falcons guy, and everybody's going to remember that. But also, they're going to remember the Super Bowl against the Patriots, where I got incredibly drunk because I went to a bar and got free shots for every score. And then the Patriots came back and just mollywhopped them in ways that are just incomprehensible.
Yeah, because the Falcons led 28-3.
I gotta think the Falcons are the number one worst bird team.
Easily.
Despite the fact I love Anderson, their running back from back in the day, the rest of that team and franchise, they have brought nothing but pain and suffering to everybody who has come across their sites. It is just not, they leave nothing but pain and destruction in their wake.
Yep.
Chris, I made up a song for the Eagles. Can I sing it real quick before I go?
Go ahead.
So how does the original song go?
Fly, Eagles, fly on the road to victory. So
I guess mine would go, die, Eagles, die. You're a stupid bird team. Die, Eagles, die. All right, Chris.
There's some people that say cry, Eagles, cry, but I like the die,
cry.
Eagles, die better. I think it rolls off the tongue better.
Well, I don't want anybody to die, so maybe cry is better.
And that's coming from a guy that said when he was coming out, I was banging the table for Jalen Hurts, and I still think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yep.
Yeah, get him off a bird team. Let him actually do some damage in the real league.
Yeah, and what's that? Sorry.
Oh, I just said he'd be great if he was playing for a real NFL team and not a bird team.
So the same thing's going to apply to Lamar Jackson too. The same quote applies to Lamar too. Guess so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We know why.
Ryan Cox was the other one that I really love.
You meant Fletcher Cox, the Eagles defensive tackle, but yeah. But he got replaced with
Those are the only two from the Eagles I really care for.
I gotta run, you guys. Anytime you need bird team commentary, just hit me up. Happy to come back. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Have a great
stopping
day.
by, Andrew. Enjoy your
How about them
your
Chiefs? Yeah, you too. Enjoy the Super Bowl, guys.
Bro. I'll talk to you later. That was my brother, Andrew Ransom. I had a lot of fun talking with him, Joey, and that was just a great interview. That was fun.
Yeah, it's like I really enjoyed talking to him, and like he was really good.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you talked him up for many years, and this is my first time being able to actually interact, and I give you credit. You talked up the right guy. So, you know, it was a pleasure to finally be able to talk to him.
Yeah, it was fun. What else do we have to discuss today? Because we've got...
You need to build up your brother a little more.
I agree. Andrew's amazing. He's an amazing brother. He's not just an amazing brother. He's an amazing person. He does a lot of great music stuff. He does some TV shows. Okay, he does a lot of music compositions for TV shows. He's fun. Yeah, he's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, because when you said it was fun, I'm like, hook up your brother more.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't. You're like one of these producers that's shaking their heads like, oh God, this guy is about to screw up. I need to get a drink. That's basically where your mindset is, even if it's...
Well, he says I haven't already had a drink because I knew you were downplay something.
I wasn't in... that wasn't my intention. That wasn't my intention, Joey. I really did enjoy speaking with Andrew. It was fun. But yeah, we got to hang out for an entire week in Vegas at the Shrine Bowl when the Eagles played the Niners and the Chiefs played the Bengals. And Zay Flowers was still in Boston College, not a Raven. But yeah, pretty much that was the week I interviewed DTR too. So before he became a Brown.
And that is another disappointment I think you and I both have, is because we both thought DTR would be better than he is and adjust the NFL game better than he did. And
because when he looked like a 5-year pro at the Shrine Bowl, he looked more polished than Will Levis at the time, and he ended up, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, and he just, one of the big things he was never able to do, he was never able to get the touch on his passes, and everything was just shoot it out as fast as possible and don't think too much. And I think we all expected more from him because he projected himself as better. And
yeah, I got to interview Jake Moody.
Give him credit for that.
Yeah, Jake Moody. Andrew, the picture of me standing outside of Allegiant Stadium on my Facebook cover. Andrew took that, by the way. Andrew took that picture, by the way. The picture where I'm standing outside of Allegiant Stadium on my Facebook cover. Andrew took that photo, by the way. So, yeah.
It's like I'm going through a few difficulties right now, but one day maybe we can all three, go to the Senior Bowl or something. I mean, it's all possible.
Yeah, I mean, the Senior Bowl is amazing. The Shrine Bowl, they moved that to AT&T Stadium. If I go to another Shrine Bowl, because Dallas is one of the cities I've wanted to visit. I know it's cold there. I know it's expensive there, but Dallas is a city that's really, cause yeah, I know it's kind of expensive.
I will say this though. I would not recommend all three of us going to a Florida Georgia game, even though it's in my backyard, because that game is not only incredibly expensive, but the bottom line is that game is chaotic as hell.
Yeah.
And you have to be ready with pepper spray. That's a game. If you're Chuck Norris, that's the game you want to go to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not so sure.
I agree. I mean, that's the thing. Excuse me, but yeah.
Two years ago, 15 people were arrested for a brawl. I mean, a few years before that, a couple people were arrested for murdering a fan of the other team after the game. I don't remember the details of that one, but it's like, that is a game where you observe from a mile away, you enjoy it.
Yeah, because there's two things. There's only two cities. I looked this up on the internet. What cities have better Wi-Fi and a lower crime rate than the city I currently live in? There are only two in the United States. Tampa Bay, Florida, and Dallas, Texas. That's it. So I don't think I'm going to move to either one of those cities, but I would definitely do a vacation to one of those because the Shrine Bowl's in Dallas. The Dallas Stars are in Dallas. There's a lot of other fun things to do in Dallas. And second, Tony Mario is a Buccaneers fan. So I just think the idea of the three of us going to a Buccaneers game with Tony, hanging out with him for a day, would be fun as hell. Raymond James Stadium, because I think Tony Mario is a season ticket holder. So for the Buccaneers, so just you, me, Andrew, and Tony. If Andrew wants to come along, just the three of us hanging out with Tony for a day, I think that would be a blast.
It would.
If Tony wanted to do that. If he doesn't, we'll respect his privacy, but like...
When I said I was dealing with some stuff earlier in the podcast, I am dealing with some stuff, and I'm trying to figure some stuff out that didn't quite work in my favor. And that will determine a few things that happen in the future. But this is not the time to talk about that. But that would be an amazing thing.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see Joey come with me to the Senior Bowl in 2026, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're probably looking at 27 or 28 as the earliest Joey would go to a Senior Bowl with me. That's just based on the timeline, what's happening.
And that's not my choice. We're not going to get into...
We're not going to... I'm not arguing with Joey's decision. He can do what he wants to do with his personal life, but that's what I'm saying. From a timeline standpoint, I think that would be the earliest. 27 or 28 would be the earliest we're looking at this scenario.
That it would be amazing if everything fell into place.
Because there is a deadline. If you applied for the Senior Bowl, Joey, there is a deadline. You have to apply by like January 15th or something. But there's a deadline each year for when you can apply for the Senior Bowl. Just giving you the heads up on that.
That's why I say it would be amazing. It would be amazing if we could do it earlier. But let's look at the realistic possibilities.
I don't think... Realism says you may not have your situation sorted out. I'm not going to discuss it on the air. You may not have it sorted out until Valentine's Day at the earliest and spring at the latest. That's just the timeline of your situation. I'm not going to get into details on your situation, but that's just a timeline, a trajectory of your situation. And then,
absolutely. And I hope everything's good by then, but we don't
and
know.
even if you get settled in, there's going to be down payments on whatever you're purchasing and other external factors that you got to take into consideration. I'm not going to discuss those on the air.
You're getting too detailed.
Okay, I'm not trying to get too detailed. I'm sorry. I apologize. That wasn't my intention.
I know you're not. It's a Freudian slip.
I meant to say external factors, but I didn't know when to drop it. That's my fault. Okay, that's my fault.
You're good. You're good. Because we got some shit going on.
Yeah.
And I didn't get good news this morning. That's why I was kind of silent early on, because
I was still wondering where William and Andrew were, and Restream was just kind of like Restream was just being Restream's being cool now, but Restream was being kind of
they were being a little bit of an ass.
This morning. Luckily they got things fixed, but this morning, and yeah, so everyone wondering what's happening next week. Next week we'll preview the Eagles and Chiefs offseason outlooks. Oh, and the thumbnail for next Saturday, it's an MLS thumbnail. The MLS regular season starts on February 22nd. Next Saturday is February 15th. So we have an MLS preview show lined up on Restream starting at noon. But we will have the Eagles and Chiefs offseason outlooks along with a Super Bowl recap. That's if William wants to join us. If he doesn't, we'll just do the 10 a.m. through noon segment on TalkShoe, and then we'll jump into the MLS previews on Restream at noon. And then the following Saturday after that, I am thinking of doing something fun before the Combine. It is a battle of the draft simulators. Joey, William, and myself, we're each going to pick an NBA, NHL, and NFL team for the draft simulator. And whoever gets the most points at the end gets to reveal a mock draft or article of their choice. Scouting report, mock draft, or article of their choice. And I will share them. So, and everybody's going to get points for participating in the mock draft. Can I finish? May I finish my point, please? I was just going to
try to give you an idea.
Before you give me the idea, I was going to say we were going to do the scoring format. I was going to talk about the scoring format briefly. It would be like Guts on Nickelodeon. So the worst mock drafter in the NBA would get 100 points. Second worst would get 200, and the best would get 300. And it would be like that for the NBA, NHL, and then the NFL at the end. And whoever had the most points after those three would get to reveal their mock at the end. But what was your idea to tweak this and make it even better?
My idea would be that you, me, and William would do an NFL mock draft, each one of us doing a different mock draft site. And we would have those big boards.
I agree. I like this idea. For the third event,
none of us would know. None of us would know what the order was unless we looked it up earlier. None of us would know what we did. None of us would know the big board.
Yeah, because if we each use a different big board, each of us would use a different big board. We will do that for the third event. But the NHL and NBA simulators, there's only one simulator. There's used to be draft. Yeah, the site, the draft prospect hockey site that we used last year, they haven't updated their content for 2025 yet, but Future Considerations has. So Future Considerations would probably use them for the hockey thing. And I already found it. I found one NBA site with a simulator, but the NBA site that I found does a lottery thing. You don't know who's picking at number one right away. They do like a lottery draw. Like they incorporated the lottery drawing into the simulator, which I give them credit for because that's revolutionary, that's bold, and that's original. You may not like the concept of the lottery at all, but that's at least original to take that lottery concept and incorporate it into the draft simulators. And if the NFL goes to a lottery format, other people are going to want to figure out how to do that and incorporate that code into their draft simulators. But yeah, that's all I'm going to say on that. But yeah, I think and then next Wednesday, William and I are going to have a guest on Under the Bleachers. and I am going to be moderating a mock draft. William and his guest are going to be doing a 1-round mock. I will be moderating that on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. No Utopia Football Insider until the Combine. Oren's made that crystal clear as a chandelier that he would like some time off before we do the Combine show. He's cool with doing another show with Emmanuel and Sean, but he wants it to be like a Combine show or a free agency show. But it sounds like Oren, I don't know. It was a saying Cowpote used to have back in the day. It was it's just an expression. It's just an idiom. I think Cowpote used to say it back in the day. Crystal clear as a chandelier. I don't know why I just quoted him or repeated him, but it is what it is. And the other thing from Wednesday's podcast with Oren, Emmanuel, and Sean, they're preparing for the possibility of coming on the draft stream. So in previous years, it was just Joey and me and Oren. This year, you're looking at William, Emmanuel Watson, Sean Dante. That's a minimum of 6 people and 5 in Restream.
To give you a little bit of history of the draft stream, Oren and myself didn't get along. But there were some whiskey in the draft stream. We became nice friends because we learned about each other. And so we're all, if we have our own whiskey, we can all become kumbaya friends.
Yeah, and if we have multiple people in the stream, like we have Oren, we have William, we have Emmanuel on.
You remember you tried to moderate that shit. You don't want anything else to do with that.
Yeah, I think in 2018 we had you, we had Oren. That was the second time. That was the first time you and Oren got along, because I remember the 2016 draft was the draft where you and Oren were going at each other. 2017 you got along, but it was just the 3 of us. And then 2018 we had like you, me, Oren, Tracy Porter, Ryan Romero. We had like 5 or 6 people on the 2018 stream. I think we had a Banel on initially. That 2018 stream was just we realized we had too many people on the call and we had to But that's what it feels like we're going to get this year, because I know William, Oren, myself, Emmanuel Watson, Sean Dante, and yourself are all want to be on the stream, because Oren already invited them on the draft show. So
Chris, the difference is the majority of us have dealt with having a lot of people on at this point. And
2018, we didn't have the experience to deal with a lot of people. Now we have more experience to deal with that.
Yeah, it's like back then it was like we were all just, what? And now it's like, okay, let's just settle down. We all have a chance to talk. We don't have to,
No, because if we have that many people on the show, I'm just going to type code and grade picks and let everyone else talk. And I'm willing to do that. It's just, we haven't had enough people to where I can just do that, where I can just code and update the picks for the site.
You can just code. I can just kind of moderate a little bit where everybody else is talking, and it'll go really smoothly. Whereas back in the day, it was like we didn't know what the hell we were doing, and it just turned into
Yeah, because 2015 was good. That was the first year we did it, and that wasn't bad for a first year. That was actually really good. But I think my friend was at my house at the time. He was bored. He was depressed that I just kept talking about the draft. My mom said I was a jerk afterwards to my friend. And then 2016, you and Oren, that was the draft. You and Oren first met each other, and you didn't get along. And then 2017, it finally felt like we got back on the right foot after a sophomore slump. And then we had the huge speed bump in 2018, and then the rest of the draft streams. Then 2019 was year 5. That was the Jacksonville draft. That was a draft where we had some ups and downs, but it was a smooth transition. And then every draft from 2020 and beyond, even though we've had some disagreements during the draft, the quality of the shows has been smooth.
I thought the Jacksonville draft could have been so much better, but they didn't.
And when I was flying to Pittsburgh, I was in Nashville, Tennessee, where the draft was. I was in Nashville. I was thinking, man, if only Joey could come to Nashville and meet me halfway there, this would really kick ass, because I was in the Nashville airport on the flight from Pittsburgh to Jacksonville.
Yeah, things when our best intentions of coming together and what we want of it have never come to pass. We've had intentions, we've had plans, it just hasn't come together the way we want.
And it's weird because, like, my MLS draft views get like 1,000, 1,200 views. In the NFL draft, it's only like 2,650 views. It's weird how I don't know why the viewership's much lower.
Every year to the point that people are laughing their asses off, so everybody wants to tune in.
No, the MLS draft gets 1,200 viewers, and our NFL draft gets like 26. So the NFL draft is getting much fewer listeners than the MLS draft. I don't know why that's the case. You would think the NFL would get the most viewers. It's the most popular sport. So I'm just curious why that's the case. I'm not going to argue with our fans on that.
You make everybody take that. I roast. I do it in the most hilarious fashion I can.
So you would rather have a show with 20 viewers if you get to roast me than a show with 1,000 viewers where there's no roasting involved. It's just constant looking at the pick, assessing, having intellectual discussions, no roasting. You'd rather have 20 viewers and roasting than 1,000 viewers and no roasting.
I'm just taking credit for the viewership.
The 26 viewers, by the way, or 50 viewers or whatever we end up getting during the NFL draft, because it's much smaller. I don't have a...
We got that much viewership, it's got to be because of me.
Well, yeah, the 26 viewers, yes, but the 1,000 viewers, when I'm doing the MLS draft shows, I think that's the only draft stream Joey hasn't participated in. He participated in 5 last year. I'm grateful for that. He participated in the NFL.
What happens is I just show up randomly and I roast your ass when I know that your pick doesn't hit.
Yeah, because it's WNBA, NFL, NBA, day 2 of the NFL draft, and the MLB draft. I think Joey participated in all of those last year. So I give him credit for that.
Now, last year, I'm not sure. I don't know if I participated in the MLS draft last year, but I know I have in the years past.
Yes, you participated because the 2018 MLS draft, rounds 3 and 4 were on the same day of the AFC Championship. That's why the memory of you roasting me as picks came flying in. That's why that memory is so familiar to you. The rapport, the memory of that. That's why that's so ingrained in you. But it's not just that draft. It's other drafts over the years too. But that's where the roasting started. That's where the roasting started. That's where it started. The 2018 MLS draft, rounds 3 and 4 on the day of the AFC Championship, when you, John Butts, were hosting that with me. That was when the roasting was born. That was the day the roasting was born. I think that was the first time we had.
You were so far off. I don't think you've been that far off since, and I don't think you were that off before, but that 1 year was enough.
2018, I was off on a lot of things. 2018, because it was the first time I was making the draft games for the simulator, but I was off on so much that year. Like, that was I think the NBA and the NHL were the only drafts I was on the money. I was on the money in the 2018 MLB draft too, but those 3 drafts were the only drafts I was on the money in. And then I regressed the MLB draft in 2019, but the NHL and the NBA, I've said it for years, Joey. The NBA and NHL are the 2 easiest drafts to predict. They're the 2 most predictable of the 5 drafts. The MLB and the MLS are the hardest. I've had the most accurate MLS mock draft twice in 28. I think I actually did have, I think it was either 2018 or 2020 where I had the most accurate MLS mock. It may have been 2018 because I had a really accurate first and second round compared to the experts, compared to the consensus. But I was really off on picks in rounds 3 and 4. And none of the players that got picked that day are still playing, unfortunately. So, yeah. So it was.
Don't say that too many times. It'll give me just more ammunition to look draft.
But I did have the most accurate. For as far as the first and second rounds go, I had the most accurate first round of any draft in the country that year, even though my third and fourth round was way, way off compared to the consensus. But with most soccer fans, they only care about the first round, and because most of the players that get picked after the first round in soccer don't make it or don't get the opportunity to play professionally. Not all, but a majority.
I absolutely enjoyed that draft. It was fun.
Yeah.
For me. And for our viewers. Maybe not so much for you.
I thought it was fun, but yeah, we haven't had because the 2019 MLS draft was in Chicago. That was the draft in Chicago. And that was the last draft where anybody could go in, because they used to have the MLS draft at the National Coaches Soccer Convention. And the National Coaches Soccer Convention only goes to 5 cities: Kansas City, Missouri, Chicago, Illinois, Anaheim, California, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and Baltimore, Maryland. So that draft would have been in Philadelphia. Had I gone to the other side of the state, that draft would have been in Philadelphia. So I could have, in theory, I could have gone to both the MLS draft and the Eagles game for the NFC title on the same day. I could have theoretically done that. But I didn't. I was naive and oblivious at the time. And, NHL draft is now the only draft that's remote. And when I say remote, I mean all the teams most of the drafts are remote now. The NHL is the only one that was like in person, where all the GMs are in person, all the executives are in person, all the scouts are in person. Because the NFL draft, the MLS draft went remote in 2020 before the COVID pandemic. And then the NFL went remote after COVID. Yeah, they still have the draft in person, but teams can also pick remotely from their own headquarters. NBA is that way. MLB is that way now. NHL, they're beginning to incorporate picking remotely. But they've been behind the rest of the leagues in that, Joey, whereas MLS and the NFL were MLS was the first to say, you know what, it's time to pivot away from making this a mainstream event. Let's go remotely. And then the NFL did the same thing after COVID. So did the NBA. So did the MLB, when they pivoted away from let's have the draft at MLB headquarters in New Jersey, where MLB Network is, to have it at the location of the All-Star game. And now the NHL is the last league to pivot away from let's have everybody draft in person to let's let teams and scouts draft players remotely from their own team headquarters. So even though this year's NHL draft is in Los Angeles at the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles, where my brother's at, it's going to be different. The NHL draft this year is going to be different because teams are going to be drafting remotely from their own headquarters, like most NFL, NBA, MLS, and MLB teams too, Joey. It's going to be different, and I think that's good for the NHL. But, yeah, I mean, the thing with the MLB NHL, NFL drafts this year. Are they weaker than 23, 24? I would say so. They're not as top heavy or as star-struck, but at the same token, there's guys who are going to slip through the cracks in the MLB, NFL, and NHL draft that are going to be steals. Patty Ford batted .333, 19 home runs at Virginia, 6'3", 215. He fell to the Cleveland Guardians at 27 in our MLB mock draft. Okay? That's a player who should not be falling that far, but because nobody else needed a first baseman, he just fell to the Guardians at 27. That's a player who should be picked in the top 20, the top 15 based on skill alone, but he fell to the Guardians. Patty White, the Virginia Cavaliers first baseman. He fell to the Guardians in an MLB mock I'm working on, and that is 37 picks done. I just got to get the Mets, Yankees, Dodgers picks up, and then 2 more picks after that, and I'm done, and I can promote the mock before the college baseball season starts, which is fantastic because I went through the batting lineups for each team, the contract lengths for each player in the batting lineups, the starting rotations, and ERAs, contracts, innings pitched, and then I did the same thing with the bullpen. And I've done that for basically every team except the Mets, Yankees, and Dodgers. And I didn't do that with every team last year, but I made sure to do that with every team this year. And believe me, there will be much less tweaking in future years, knowing that that's now on the table. But, correct. Alex Bregman still hasn't signed with a team. Pete Alonso did sign with the Mets on a 2-year deal. What else do we need to cover before we sign off, Joey, on Talk Shoe and Restream? Yeah, because we did. I was thinking we were going to end as soon as my brother dropped the call, but I wanted to give our audience a sneak preview of next week's shows. We did that. We'll have an MLS season preview for you guys next week, and then we're going to do a battle of the draft simulators in 2 weeks from today, and then 3 weeks from today is the Combine. 3 weeks from today is the 2025 NFL Combine. So the sooner I get the MLB mock draft done, the sooner I can start coding those Combine pages and updating things for 3 weeks from now. And I probably do need to start that this week if I want to avoid falling behind. Once we get to the Combine in March, I probably need to jump straight into that as soon as my MLB mock draft is updated. I would say, because it's already February 8th and I don't have that up yet. But yeah, that'll do it for this week's edition of Draft Utopia. I'll be back with William Yanish on Wednesday to break down the draft simulator on Under the Bleachers. And I will be back next Saturday with Joey to break down the MLS. So we'll see you guys then.